And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show, and this is going to be episode 453. So I hope you guys had a great day, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with Aaron Sparrow, and this is going to be his third appearance on the show. It's always a good time to talk to Aaron Sparrow. He has so many takes that make people go very, very crazy on social media. What is with stuff that you say that makes people go insane? Literally, you could say, you know what, I really just don't like pineapple on pizza, and someone would actually in their brain go, you know what, this person is worse than Hitler. What? What? That's insane.
Are you talking about pineapple, sweet, delicious pineapple on bitter
no.
pizza?
Oh, no. Yeah. Pineapple, I'm never going to get over people. How do you like that? It's disgusting. Pineapple pizza tastes like crap.
It's essentially like, it's for people who don't have a personality. It's like what they used to say is they used to be like, I don't even own a TV. You know, it's just a way to like, you know, feel like pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. And they adjust their monocle, you know. It's just a way to feel superior to other people, which of course, as we know, is what social media is all about.
You know what's also crazy is, like, I know you've seen stuff that I post, and what I want people to really understand what I post is I actually genuinely mean that. Most of you nerds are stupid for several reasons, okay? You do the exact same things people used to do to you to keep you out of an inner circle, right? And now you see that on the internet a lot with like all these nerd groups. Like, you'll see tweets randomly, because I'm on the For You page a lot, and I get everyone's algorithm where if you make someone mad, they're in my algorithm. Someone else makes someone mad, they're in mine. And you'll have nerds now at this point that'll say, if you don't like this specific type of anime, you're just not a real anime fan. It's like, good Lord. The guy who literally doesn't shower, can't pay his own bills, can't get a girl attracted to him, is going to tell you that you can't be a fan of his thing. I think there needs to be some self-reflection there. If you can't buy a bar of soap from a dollar store, I don't think you should be telling other people what they should be a fan of. Like, you know, personal hygiene. You know, I heard the horror stories at cons where people don't take showers. It's like, anime fans do not shower. This has been a known thing that people in the nerd sphere don't shower. It's like people that literally don't have showers, don't have a car, don't have a job, are telling you, you can't be a fan of this thing that I like. Sir?
I mean, I used to think it was, I just used to think it was like a real problem that I couldn't wrap my head around. And what I've kind of, the conclusion that I've kind of come to, because it's like, how do you not shower? How do you, you know, like, that's just a basic thing. How do you not clean yourself up, especially if you're going to go out, you know? And at cons, like I would think like, well, maybe they spent like all night out sleeping out on the street because they wanted to get into Hall H or whatever at San Diego. But it's like, it's the first night, it's preview night. How do you smell so bad? And then I started thinking like, well, maybe they're like staying like 8 to a room because it's expensive to go to con, you know, and they're not showering because there's just one shower and we got to get to the con or like whatever. But it's like, I could go a week and not smell that bad. Like, how long has it been since you have showered? And kind of the conclusion that I've come to, and the conclusion that I've come to with a lot, you know, certain segments of fandom, and especially the ones that are like very like fixated, and if you disagree with them, you know, they'll try to burn you to the ground, and you're like their hated enemy. I've kind of come around to the idea that it's a lot of people that are like, you know, on very deeply on the spectrum, and so they're very into this one thing. And that one thing has kind of become their personality. And so if you don't like that thing, you know, somewhere in their head, it's a value judgment on them as like a person. It's their identity. So you're rejecting their identity, and therefore they're justified in hating you. When you're like, nah, I just don't like that comic, or I don't like that anime or whatever.
You know what's crazy? One of my coworkers just yesterday asked me, what is the worst fandom? And then in my brain, I was like, I think this one's the worst, or this one. Then come to find out in my brain, I just came to this revelation, guys, just less than almost 24 hours ago, because, you know, I'm a genius, actually. I think all fandoms are actually pretty terrible, honestly. I think each one of them it's literally 50-50. It's literally a coin. It's either you get 50 good, 50 bad. And I think more of them are now becoming more bad than good, actually. Have you seen some of these posts where like these social media managers are on like video game discords basically telling people, if you criticize this X thing or X person, we're going to kick you out? Didn't they criticize other people for gatekeeping? Like, isn't that just straight up like censorship to a certain extent? It's like, if you criticize this one person, you can't be a part of this Discord. It's like, what kind of power trip is that? What in the world is going on with people?
I don't think. I mean, I don't think anybody's above criticism. I don't think that I'm not one of those creators that you hear about that like, if you say you didn't like something I did, or or you don't like something that I like there's actually one pretty famous creator that will call you personally if you like. He basically has called review sites because he didn't get a glowing review on a book, and then tries to convince them as to why they're wrong. And
God,
and I can't imagine. Number one, I can't. Everybody has a different opinion. If you didn't like something that I did, I'm sorry you didn't like it. I mean, don't try to convince me that I didn't like it, but I understand that it wasn't to your taste, and I accept that. But and I'll certainly hear your criticism or whatever feedback you have, and hopefully I write something in the future that you like.
Right.
But at the same time, I think that my experience with the fandoms is I've seen a lot of bad, but I have seen way more good. And I think it's because I get out to shows and I actually meet people face to face. And
it is way different.
That's the social fandom, the ones that actually have social skills that go out that, you can have a conversation with. And I think that the fandom that's like angry and that is attacking people, I think that generally tends to be the insular, doesn't leave their house, doesn't really have a lot of other things going on, aside from their fandom. I think it's that group of people. So, my experience with fandoms has been very good, but like any walk of life, you run into a jerk now and then.
Yeah. For me, it's always been 50-50, specifically because I think you so for me, you know how I've said you on the store before on the show, I like where back in the day you could have conversations with like dudes, because to be honest, Master, most of the stuff is for us. I know girls are like, we are a big part of the fandom. We're an untapped market, as the media says. No, you're not. You are not the majority in this stuff. But all jokes aside, guys, I like conversation where you could talk to someone. You say, I don't know, I think pineapple on pizza tastes like shit, and I'll say I think it tastes good, and we just have a conversation based off our preferences of not liking or liking said thing. But now people are, for some reason, absolving weird parts of conversations that should never be a thing. Like, if we're having a conversation, that's it. We're just having a conversation. Guys, this is how a conversation goes. After the show, me and Aaron talk on Twitter. That's it. Come on the show, everyone. That's it. That's it. Conversation's over. We're done. We talk. It's over. But now at this point, people just kind of want to take a conversation someone has and go, wait a minute, that was a really weird, hateful thing you said. People understand when guys are talking, they don't think about that stuff. Yeah, but dude, I know you work I know you work still, right? When people are having conversations, I'll tell you guys right now, conversations I have next to my coworkers would blow your mind. People think I'm just controversial. No. People at my job do the same thing. But you wouldn't know that because obviously that's a different setting, right? It's so weird how people just, for some reason, forgot that conversation is just that. You could also take nothing from a conversation and go, you know what? I had a great conversation with that person. We agreed and disagreed, but I had a good time. That was my life growing up. Like, I know you had this too when you grew up. Like your parents were talking like their friend for like a long time, and you're a little kid, and you're like, Mom, can we go? But they're just having a good time. They're just talking. They're just having a good time. I think we need to get back to more of that, just talking and having a good time. Whether you agree or disagree shouldn't matter, because, like I said before, you're not changing that person's mind anyway. That shouldn't even be the goal in a conversation, only because that person, even I've seen people literally proven wrong, factually proven wrong. It's still not change their position. So facts aren't going to make someone change their position anyway. The only way to kind of somewhat get to a person is having an enjoyable conversation. That's just my opinion on a lot of the stuff online, because it feels like now people just don't want to. Feel like, oh my god, I talk like you'll see girls. They'll be like, I talked to this guy and he was a really good guy and we had a great conversation, but he said that he voted for Trump. Really? Because one thing, exactly one thing.
Well, because they extrapolate that into, if he did that, then that means this, then that means this, then that means this,
everything else is negated. This.
Yeah. Well, they can't. There's a real disconnect by not having like actual conversations anymore, and the ability to converse and to exchange ideas. Now you're actually like rewarded if you hold fast to your idea and you are intractable. No matter what information is presented to you, you are going to remain, because it's a sign of weakness to be wrong. Is kind of the what I like is I like when I say something and then I get somebody who I know has followed me for a long time. And I've had a long history with like going back and forth with them on, and talking to them on social media. And then I'll find out something like they'll say like, I don't often agree with you. And I'm like, oh, cool. Because now I'm more interested in the conversation because, I don't need you to agree with me. Actually, I'm interested in why you don't. And now, because
that creates a good dynamic.
Yeah, because I try to approach conversation with, I have my idea of what's right based on these facts and this
Right,
that I
right.
have learned. But I hold it open that if you come to me with facts that I don't know or I've never been exposed to, I want to hear those because I want to know if my thinking needs to be adjusted. Because what I think and what I'm saying does not define who I am as a person. My identity is not wrapped up in that.
Right.
So if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong because I'd rather be right. So tell me where I'm wrong so that I can now be right.
So that means you're not part of the Dragon Ball fandom, because every Dragon Ball fan would not like that. If they actually truly believe one thing about something, they'll never let it go. Like, even if you show them that Goku's not a bad dad, but I believe he's a bad dad. Based off what? Because you don't have a dad, so you're just projecting your personal life. It's crazy. That's the big problem too. I know that creators kind of weirdly insert themselves and stuff, but it's so weird how fans do this too. Fans, don't they do the same thing? I've seen fans quite literally project bullshit in their own life into stuff to make it look like that, even though it's not that. So we use Goku's a bad dad. What would make Goku a bad dad? First of all, in the very first arc, he sacrifices himself to save Gohan from his deranged, crazy uncle who's trying to murder all of them. That by itself alone would make someone a bad dad. In real life, if you did that, you'd be known as a hero forever. But only, you know. Oh,
you know what it is? No, you know what it is? It's essentially, now this is the problem with identity being, people being wrapped up in identity, is because if you decide that a character represents your identity, or you identify with that character, character is now you. Now, anything that's said about that character, or any kind of flaws that character might have or might be presented with, now that's a value judgment on you. And what I tell people all the time is, like, art is very subjective, and of course you interpret it through your own, the lens of your understanding.
Yeah.
And it's why Alan Moore can't understand the fact that most people who read Watchmen see Rorschach as the hero. And he didn't write him to be the hero, because from his perspective it wasn't. But when you come to it and you're reading it and you're like, this is the one guy that is standing, even if I don't necessarily agree with all of his conclusions, he's the one guy that is standing on principle. Everybody else is wishy-washy, and this is the guy that's like, no, I know the black and white of what's right and wrong, and this is wrong. This life living through, living peace bought by a lie and by the blood of the innocent is not peace. That's essentially what his conclusion is at the end. And so he dies for it. And people identify with that, because that, for all of Rorschach's flaws, that is heroism. He could go along to get along, but he saw something that was wrong, and he's like, no, I am going to stand here on principle. This is not right, and I'm going to tell the world. And so that's why people identify with him as a hero. Any kind of fandom that you go into, when you start saying, like, no, that character is me, and then you start objecting to creative decisions and things like that, because now it's an assault on you as a person. All fandom is essentially the tree on Dagobah. What's in there? What's in there? Only what you take with you.
Like,
so
it happens in Yu-Gi-Oh too, where I'm not trying to be like that guy, but like, if I'm not that guy, then people.
Why are you being that guy, MSK? Why are you being that guy?
I have to be, because people think, like, it's crazy. They're like, oh my, I love Seto Kai, but he's a rich billionaire. He gets all these things. I'm like, you do know you're not like that, right? When you're projecting this much of your life into that character, it's like, that's a billionaire. Most of you guys don't even like billionaires for just the simple fact of just being a billionaire. But if it's in an anime, apparently he's just the most Chad character ever. It's like, what level of logic? I have to know who raised most of you. I have to know, because I was just not raised this way. I was not raised this way. I didn't live life this way. And I get it. Being raised on the internet is way different than how I was raised. But there's people that I personally know, and people that are of my age group in the previous generation before these other two that are coming up, they act this way. I'm like, how dialogue used to happen. We didn't really have cell phones growing up because we were fucking poor. You want to talk to someone? You just kind of talk to them. That's how it worked.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 31. I'm old.
Okay. So like, so you remember a life before the internet was.
I was 6. I was born 1994, so it was basically mid 90s. I was born.
So it was still to get online.
Pagers back in your day. Good
oh
Lord.
My God, pagers! I remember when pagers were like everybody's like, you should get a pager, and I was like, I rejected that. I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want people to be able to get a hold of me. And then So I would go out like as a teenager, and my dad would be like, "Here, take my pager," and I'd like take his work pager, and
Oh,
But then people
God,
from his work would be texting or like paging him, and I'd be like, I don't know who that is. But like if I saw Dad's number pop up with 911, I knew I better find a phone and call. But yeah, so like I'm from, I'm Gen X, so I'm from the generation that actually like went outside and played. Your parents would kick you out of the, during the summer, kick you out of the house because they didn't want you in there messing up their day. So you'd have to go out and you'd have to find your friends, and you'd have to run around the neighborhood like savages and ride your bikes up to the 7-Eleven and buy comic books.
Oh yeah.
And then, go down to the riverbed and try to catch a crawdad, even though you didn't really know what a crawdad
desert. Our riverbed was straight dirt. Yeah.
Where were you?
We didn't have comic book shops here because this city is too poor. Essentially, they actually filmed Too Fast, Too Furious here. They filmed that scene from my city when what's his name? Oh my God. When oh my goodness, I'm forgetting I'm blanking on his character's name.
I've only ever seen one Fast and the Furious movie, so if it's not the second one,
when he says I ain't going back to that place, that's where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was a kid, they blocked off the whole road. They filmed it. Man, I wish we could have went. Good. I told them, can we go? Like, no, they're filming a movie there. I was like, what movie? I never found out until I watched that movie years later. I was like, oh God, was actually filmed here. But no, like after Saturday morning cartoons, I went outside till like 5 o'clock in the day. Like I came in every once in a while to watch a show, or whatever. But we were out 5 o'clock in the day.
Yeah, you'd come back because you needed water. If you
need water,
to drink from the hose.
No, we were drinking from the hose. That's what we did. Good Lord, we couldn't afford water.
Right. Raised on hose water and neglect.
Dude, I remember going to the fridge. You were going to the fridge being. I don't know if you guys were poor, but we were poor. Come in the fridge, we had like maybe a few cans of food. Some days it was looking rough.
Yeah, no, like I remember, and this isn't like a Gavin Newsom thing where he's like, we were mac and cheese and Stouffer's lasagna, and you're like, shut up. You were so damn rich. You were raised on Getty money, you lying piece of crap.
He said he knows what black people feel like now. I remember that. He's like, I understand how you guys feel. Oh God. The rich white guy understands what us poor black people feel.
The rich privileged white guy who never worked a real day in his life and has a picture in high school with his designer scarf and his collar popped, best dressed. It's like, get the out of here.
He's like, I'm one of you guys. Oh my God, does that not sound? People are weirdly so racist. They can't even see it in their mind. They actually think that's normal to say. And Chris Wesley, I'd laugh at it. People said I would laugh at that. But if you're projecting, you're not in some way thinking a racist thing. It's like, come on, man. I don't care personally, but trying to act like they're above it all. We're above everything. Have you noticed that with people in your industry? They do that thing now where basically everything they do is righteous and justice and moral, and everything is so good, and what they do is so great. But anything you do is rooted in any instaphobe word, hatred. It's like, how do you perceive life that way? Everything that you do is right, and everything you think and say and feel is right, but everything I think and say and feel is bad. It's horrible.
I mean, I truly believe that there is a it's like these are people who have no faith except you have to place your faith somewhere, right? Like there's a hole in all of our lives, and some people try to fill it with money, some people try to fill it with sex, some people try to fill it with it's like, but there's this hole, and some people fill it with politics. That becomes their religion. So now if you don't agree with 100% of their politics, that means you don't agree with their religion, which means that you are a heretic. And so, you must be burned at the stake for heresy. So that's kind of the mindset. And I think that it's the human condition. And so I try to be understanding because, as they are, I once was. So, you just try to be kind to everybody, and you try to guide people along. Now, I will be a jerk on the internet to people. Rarely am I a jerk in person unless they really push me. But I will be a jerk on the internet if you come with that energy, and within a couple of tweets, I can't turn you around. If you want to be an asshole, I'll be an asshole back to you. But I'm better at it, so I'm going to beat you.
Yeah. Like, dude, forever, I didn't even really block or mute people forever. But it gets to a point sometimes where if someone starts doing like shots at like personal family, I'm like, no, that's where you just cross the line. But I will say something that happened in the comic book industry. I know you and Aaron talked about it in the video. Mm-hmm. So these people, they put their names out there anyway.
Aaron Lepresti?
No. Oh, not Aaron. Good Lord. Mm. Thinking critical. Jesus Christ.
Oh, Wes.
Right. You're Aaron. God damn it. They're all the same people.
No, I'll be Wes. Let me get with Wes, I'd get the deal on the nice hair. So that'd be good.
That's like, wait a minute. we're all West. We're all, to be fair, we're all thinking critical at this point. So maybe he was onto something with that name. But the thing, there was, so if you guys don't actually know this, recently there was this, it's a Whisper Network group that got exposed that they were essentially like talking shit behind like Scott Snyder's back. It was a group with like Kelly Thompson, Jerry Duggan, Chip Zdarsky, James Tynion, the Ford, a few other guys in there. I think it was Greg Capullo. I think these are like, now quality of their writing is subjective, right? But these are considerably known people now in the industry. These are big people, obviously, right? Kelly Thompson's is the weirdest one because wait a minute, Kelly Thompson does know that her book sells pretty well with Absolute Batman, right? Like outside of Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman sells better than Absolute Superman at this point. It sells very well. But now whether it's written good, subjective, right? I only read.
I think it's the best. I think it's the best thing that I've ever seen Kelly do. I'm willing to say that.
Yeah, it's just so weird that she would be in a DM group potentially shit talking someone she works next to and has the same success that the other person does, like that. And that's a weird problem with women these days. It's like unless they're exactly in the spotlight, number one, then they just feel like I don't know, honestly, like that was doing to me. So Chip Zdarsky, he was kicked off that Batman book for Jim Lee, and he had that. What else did he do? He has the Captain America run, and now he's going to be like the architect for Marvel. Jerry Duggan hasn't done anything since like that Invincible Iron Man run he had back in 2023, where he married Tony Stark and Emma Frost. Greg Capullo, he's still doing art. Last time I saw him on a book was like Wolverine's Revenge. Like it's just so odd that someone like that, I don't know who she is behind the scenes. I'm just saying it's very weird when I see people do that. It's like, wait a minute. You're getting all the benefits of this success, right? Your book sells almost as well as Absolute Batman. Why would you be in a DM group shit talking essentially your other colleague? I just, and people understand women are like that. And I'm not saying all women, obviously, but it's just things like, we're talking about naive men before we're going live with the show. Men who have no backbone will sit there and just take that like, why are you doing this to me? I've done from what I know, Scott has never done anything wrong to her. I don't know personally, right? But
I don't know that Kelly was one of the, like, she's in the group, but there was a lot of people in the group, and I don't know that anybody, at least I never saw anybody specifically named,
right? But isn't that just weird?
So it must be somebody who's politically aligned with Rich Johnson, because otherwise Rich Johnson would have been happy to name them.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But I don't think it was. I mean, it would be surprising to me if it was Kelly, considering her connection to Scott Snyder and her being on an Absolute.
You know how women are these days; they'll throw you on the bus for anything.
Well, Kelly has a reputation for that. If you watch some of Perch's videos, he talks about like what she did to Rick Remender and some things that she did at Marvel.
I've seen those. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, and so again, secondhand information, but it does start to paint a pattern. But I would think that after being bounced out of Marvel and then popping up at DC, that if she was doing that she would have learned her lesson, I would hope, and so she wouldn't be doing that to Scott Snyder, the hand that feeds her. I'm in a very good position, very comfortable position for me, because I don't say anything behind anybody's back that I'm not willing to say out loud in public. So anybody who has a beef with me, like, I heard you said this about me, I'm like, yeah, I said it on the video. Here it is. Like you can find it. Like, it's like I'm not hiding anything. And if you want to have a discussion about it, we can have a discussion about it. I have no problem doing that, because the only people, I will critique the way that I feel about somebody's work, or the way that I feel about what they're putting out there, or even like the way that I think that they're acting towards fans. But the only people in the industry that I truly dislike are people who have who've gone out of their way to destroy others, through Whisper networks and things like that. And I've been the victim of that. I don't like those people, and I don't like anybody who has stiffed me on money. So, I've talked about some publishers in the past that have done that. Aside from that, I'm willing to talk to anybody in the industry.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, where like basically some of them won't even go on another person's show unless they are 100% this way, or like their tweets will start blowing in a certain wind that way. And keep in mind, I get it from a point of view of that, only specifically from like, if they're higher up, see them on a show with some political views that have been very interesting, they might not get work. And sometimes I do believe some of these people are only doing that just to get money. Like, they don't actually believe in any of that shit. They're just only putting on a facade to get money. Like, keep in mind, I'm not saying I know this specifically, but a lot of people do that. a lot of people just basically fake how they feel in one aspect to further their career to get to a certain point. Just recently, Jamie Lee Curtis started shitting on the recent Halloween trilogy. Keep in mind, those movies are not good. I don't like them at all. I like the 2018 one. I thought that was actually pretty good. But the other two, Kills and Ends, are very bad. But she didn't say these things when Halloween ends, right after its theatrical run was over. She didn't say any of this stuff. Like, how much?
Well, you're under an NDA for a while. Like, you have
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Like
Yeah.
you can't be honest about things like in the moment. And and I mean I get that. Like, look, if I had any interest in going back and working at Disney, and they offered me Darkwing Duck tomorrow, I would change the way that I engage with people on Twitter, because I'm now representative of the brand.
Right.
It's like, so, yeah. and I believe in kind of like, in being a positive representative of the people that you're working with. But as a freelancer, as a lone wolf, I get to say whatever it is that I want to say. I get to do whatever it is that I want to do. I get to put out Kneel Before Doomface, and I don't have anybody telling me you can't make that joke, or this is offensive, or, somebody's going to get their feelings hurt. I just get to do whatever it is that I want to do. I often joke that I don't have sensitivity readers. I have insensitivity readers. I give it to Doc, and Doc will tell me, you need to make this more offensive. And I'm like, okay, Doc, let me get on that.
All right.
Because essentially, Kneel Before Doomface is a satire. It's meant to lampoon everything that I just think is funny to make fun of, whether it be left, right, center.
When is issue 2 coming? Because I know you got done crowdfunding issue 1. Is issue 2 going to be launching very soon at all?
I want to get everybody fulfilled on issue 1, which we're about, according to the printer, I'm about 6 to 8 weeks from having that book in hand and starting to go out. So once we've done that, and then once we finished all of the, all of the inks, colors, and letters for the second book, then we'll put it up. Because what I want to do is, I want to have each book now, because crowdfunding ended up, it's like I'd been part of crowdfunds before, but I'd never had to be in charge of every aspect of production. And so when things went wrong, it's like a cascading effect. It's like, oh, this person's out for this. This person had who's working on this had somebody pass away, so now they're going to be off for a month. And so, and I don't ever want to do anything where it's like, I promised you this high quality art from this high quality artist, and Renzo is chef's kiss. But if Renzo has some kind of emergency, I don't want to bring in a fill-in artist. I want the book to be, what was promised, and by the the best artist for it imaginable. So I will wait on Renzo. So it just makes more sense now that we did the first campaign. People will be able to see what it's about. I'll be able to offer reprints, with the second campaign. It just makes more sense to move to a more Iconic Comics or Rippaverse model, where the book is done and you're getting it, a month to 6 weeks after, it closes.
Yeah, because I never got a chance to ask you this, because I knew you wanted to move to that model. So for anyone who doesn't know who you are, essentially, when you do get to that point, are you going to want to have your own website that you could just sell the book to the person directly, or still do like crowdfunding as a model, or maybe you do crowdfunding on your website, essentially?
Yeah, I think I want to move. Like, I don't think I'll put it up on a crowdfunding site necessarily, because if it's done, it's essentially a pre-order. I'm not asking you to crowdfund it. I'm not asking you. Yeah, I'm not funding the dream. The dream is complete. I'm just asking you now to buy it. So I think that I'll go a different route. Whether it would be on my own site, or I've got options. There's the Comic Mint. There's even like Fund My Comic, which it doesn't take that much. There's there's Ripasend. There's a lot of options out there, to both present your book and to have it shipped out. And fulfillment is always the big thing. It's like, I want to. One of the advantages to I sent out an update a little while ago, but late last year I got a concussion, and I didn't realize how bad it was. Ooh. And so, but during that time where I would have, if I didn't have the concussion, I would have been able to finalize all the files, finalize all the numbers, send the book to print, pay for it. Like it went to the printer, and then there were issues with that printer, and it didn't end up getting printed. And thank goodness, but it took a little while to get that deposit back. But also thank goodness, because the fulfillment house that we were going to use, a different client was using them, and that fulfillment house completely screwed up and like imploded basically. So my book would have been at that fulfillment house during that period. And so everything would have got screwed up, and God only knows, how much that would have cost to fix. So, and that would have cut into the budget that I'm spending on too.
Yeah. And that's another thing that no one talks about too, and all this stuff is like you could encounter issues with the printer not printing files correctly and having them to redo that and all that stuff. And that may cost you or not cost you, give or take who you have it run by. There's so much stuff that goes in crowdfunding. I can't believe, people would rather drama stream than actually finish their books. Why finish your books? Just talk shit about people. That must be more profitable, right?
Well, it's easier, right? It's easier to be on stream and have people give you super chats than it is to actually sit down and draw or to write or, whatever it is that you have to do. But, I'm always of the mind that, like I said this in the beginning, and we talked about it Saturday on Aficionados. It came up. I said, I have a really nice toy collection that I've amassed over my life.
You buy hot toys, Aaron?
No, I don't buy. I have a couple of hot toys, but I don't collect hot toys because that's
okay.
Just, But I've got like a lot. I started collecting. I went back and started rebuying stuff in the early '90s, so I've got a lot of really nice pieces that are super expensive now that I didn't pay that much before back in the day. But if I'd run into a problem where the backer's money is gone, whatever that problem is, whether it's like I got hacked and they took all my money, or they,
your wife stole your bank account.
Yeah, I was in a wreck and like I had to use the money to pay for surgery, or like whatever the thing is. I have assets that I could sell to make sure that I fulfill my promise to my backers. And that's like the most important thing. It's like I would sell all that stuff to make sure that I had money to complete this project and to get everybody their books. Fortunately, that I haven't had anything happen like that, so everything's good. But it's like the promise. I know that like everybody does that thing when they're late or when they don't deliver, and they're like, well, crowdfunding is like you're paying for the chance to get a book, and I'm like, that's not how anybody views it. Anybody who contributes money doesn't view that. They think I'm going to get
what's
this
crazy?
thing.
All these people that said all these retarded things, and no, guys, I'm sorry, they're retarded. If any customer or backer, because it's all the same shit, or you can say investor. Let's just say this, because they consider these people's backers. Well, backers are technically investors in your project, right? They're investing in your project to make your dream come true. It's how I know people don't know business. I know business because, well, I have some real estate stuff, so I know business very well at this point. If I knew, just the inclination of my brain, if I knew that was never going to happen, what's crazy? No one would ever do it. That's just how it works. If I knew there was a chance that my money would be wasted and thrown in a fire pit only for it to burn, I wouldn't do it. That's why no one ever phrases it like that. This weird, disingenuous phrasing that comes, because my guys, that phrasing comes after the fact. It doesn't come the face front. Maybe someone's a sucker enough to like it at face front like that. But also the other thing came up too when what you were bringing up earlier. Well, you're kind of funding my lifestyle. It is not say on that crowdfunding campaign, I'm funding your light bill. That doesn't say that. I'm funding the project. Wait a minute. Also, if you need money for a light bill, this is a crazy thing, guys. This is crazy.
Go start a GoFundMe. That's not a crowdfunder. That's a GoFundMe.
This is a crazy thing. It's an absolute crazy thing, guys. There's this thing called checks notes. It's called a job. You work them. You get paid every month, every 2 weeks, every week. You know what's crazy? All of us do that too, right? If you need money for food, car note, health insurance, and that stuff, you get a job, okay? But I want to be an artist. This is the crazy thing. I may want to be something, but if it doesn't pay me consistently enough to live, I can just do it on the side as a hobby. No one's saying you can't do art on the side as a hobby, but it doesn't pay you consistently enough for you to live off of. So you crazy guys, you get a job to pay for your.
Are there people? I mean, I don't need to know who, but are there people that are saying that like that money was for them to live off of while they made the book? Is that
it was? I'll say this. It actually was a discussion that was happening actually last year. Maybe was a co-creator on a big Batman character. I'll just say that. That's all I'll say. But it was like, what are you talking about? When I fund a campaign for a comic book, that is going to the book. It doesn't say I'm funding your light or your gas bill. Where does that? That's disingenuous people do. That's added after the fact. You just added in that bullshit later on. It's like, what?
Yeah, because the campaign says it's for a book. It doesn't say it's for you. It's for me to survive while I make you the book. Like, I mean, I guess you could say that, like, in some ways that's implied, but I don't think anybody does that because The money that people gave me to make the book went into making the book.
The book, yeah.
I work a job to pay for my other stuff. Now, granted, art is way more intensive than me writing and doing editing and things like that. Obviously, Renzo is the one who needs to live while he's doing
Renzo
this.
needs to live? Oh, no.
Yes. So Renzo is sitting down. He's spending all day at the drawing board, and that's why he gets a page rate that then covers his bills, because drawing that book is his job. Because I hired him to do that job. I hired him to do that job with the money that people gave me to make the book. So my lifestyle is paid for by me working a job. His lifestyle is paid by him doing the job that he was hired to do, which is draw. It's interesting because, I guess maybe like, even if Kneel Before Doomface had made like $100,000, which is more than I needed to make the book, like I wouldn't have been living off of that money. I would have used that money to fund the next couple things. Like it would have gone into more books, and then would have gotten me quicker to the model, to the model of having like more things to present to people that are pre-orders instead of,
Because I guess the idea that was presented to me when this conversation was happening online last year, because it was mostly a last year thing when something came up with someone else, I was like, because the way they presented it was like, hey, well, I do this as a living. And I'm like, well, what you just presented to me in your argument tells me art doesn't pay you consistently enough to have a lifestyle where you could live off your art unless you initiate a campaign and you make a certain amount of money on the said campaign. But what this person didn't understand, because this is how people are just not thinking anymore. Their brains just can't move past a thought. They're not thinking the whole picture. They're just thinking in this aspect of like, I don't know, 1 + 1 = 2. It's like, no, I give you money for a book. I did not give you money for a bill. I don't even know where you even came up with that other idea. You're just making up bullshit. It's like that politician that goes, you know what? We're going to lower prices. How are you going to lower prices? Well, what about Iran? Deflection, because that's all politicians do. They deflect. That's just their thing. And these people just move the goalposts constantly. It's like, if you want to live off being an artist, well, this might be the hard... What was that thing back that they called hard pills to swallow? Might be a hard pill to swallow. You actually can't do that. It doesn't pay consistently enough for you to live off of. This is what any grown man who's successful would know. And
also, I don't know that you're being a good steward of the money. Even if that were the case, I don't know that you're being a good steward of the money, because I don't know. You have all the money in advance, so I don't know that you have the work ethic to sit down and say like, like for example, I think one thing that Eric Larson once said is he said. He sits down and he starts to draw a page, and he knows how many pages he needs to do, like what a page is worth to him. Like, this is how many hours should this page take, and what does that equal in money that I pay myself? And if I start drawing too much and that page is no longer profitable within my frame, then I know that I have to skimp on another page. I have to go less on another page because I know how many hours I should be spending. And that's kind of the thing, is it's like, if you've never had that situation, if you've never had like a bunch of money just sitting there, you don't necessarily feel compelled to draw because, why am I going to draw? I don't need any money.
Right. Or the opposite applies too. The opposite could go, well, now if you're never been accustomed to this much money, how do I know you're disciplined enough not to spend it on frivolous bullshit?
Yeah, how do I know that you've planned out, like, because you should then have goals, time goals. If you're like, okay, I made this much money, which means I have this much time to finish the book, which means, aside from the production, which, I should have factored in, what's it going to cost to print? What's it going to cost to ship? Right. All that stuff. What's it going to cost for my letterer, my, anybody else is on the project. Once I've calculated all those costs, whatever's left is yours, is your profit. So that now you are certainly welcome to live off of your profit. But how much time is it going to take me to finish the book? And does that profit cover the amount of time to pay for my life while I'm finishing the book? Like, if I pay myself 8 hours a day to sit at the drawing board, how much do I have to make and how long does it last? These are calculations that you have to make.
Yeah. And I'm not even saying that in an ideal world, you couldn't live off the money. The thing is it's what a lot of people don't do anymore. So the thing we used to do back in the day, we used to say this thing called keeping things as a black people thing, guys, called keeping things on the down low. Not everybody needs to know every little intricate detail of how you think about anything, right? So even if you were doing that, let's just say you were doing that. Let's say you were living off the backers' money while you were potentially working the book. Why are you telling people that? What the fuck? That is like if I robbed a bank and then just told the cops, you know what? I'm the guy that did it. I'm the guy on camera. they're telling, it's like, I don't even know how that works. They're being what is essentially like a thief, but then they want to also weirdly get caught. I don't even know how that even works. If you're doing that, why would you tell someone? That's just the dumbest thing ever. The logic don't work with these people anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
retarded.
if I've seen you like pictures like, here I am at the dog track, lost big today, and then like a month later you're like, I'm sorry guys, I don't have the money to finish the book. I'm gonna go, was that my money that you were blowing at the dog track instead of working on the book? I don't care what you do. Like, I don't care what you do with your money that's your profit or your
Right,
whatever. But like, when it's like no, that money was meant to be spent on the book, and you're out there blowing it on something else. I don't think that's
yeah. And it's like, why are you telling people this? Like, I feel like that's the part of transparency that people don't need to be about transparent. Like, there was a thing that Eric did for the Ribbiverse that there was something that I didn't like what he did, where at one time they posted like their finances, how much they're paying for like a warehouse, whatever. It's like, and he hasn't done that since then. And I was like, that's good, because I was like, Eric, people don't care about, or they don't need to know how much money you're spending on a light bill for your warehouse or how much property taxes. They don't need to know that. That's way too transparent. All people care about is getting the books. And they've been doing that very, very good and very, very consistently, because that just gives people ammo for bullshit. Like, oh, well, because you saw what people were saying, like, oh, he's going to go bankrupt by 2025, spending this much money on a warehouse. And it's like, come on, Eric, you need to put that out. People don't need to know that. I don't need to know how much money you pay for rent in a warehouse. That doesn't even, I got my own rent to deal with,
Yeah,
worry about someone else's rent.
Because that's proprietary business information. You don't need to share that.
Yeah.
The only thing, because at the end of the day, the only thing that, the people that want to know that sort of stuff and that are going to talk about that sort of stuff aren't your customers. They're your people that are, trying to drag you down.
Yeah.
And you're not going to convince them by showing them like, what your finances are. It's none of their business. And the people that love you, the people that are buying your books and that want to read them, all they care about is, did I get my book and did I like it? That's the only thing that matters to them.
Like, if Aaron went and spent like $500 on a hot toy, guys, I don't even know how I would want to, like, if he tells me, post a picture on Twitter like, hey, I got this really expensive hot toy, I'm like, hey man, cool. Now I'm thinking in my brain, you're not gonna look at your bank account if you do that, but it's just like, I think people are not in the indie space, just a little too transparent. Like, people don't need to know those very intricate details. They just don't, because first of all, they don't do anything. It doesn't advance the discussion. It doesn't change anything, and in my opinion, that only brings up drama, Like, people said only indie comic space, there's less drama. I don't know about that, guys. I don't know about that at all. I think there's a lot of drama here, but there's also a lot of good people too. I will say there's a lot of good people. I will say that.
Yeah, it just depends. And like, there's like anything. There's clicks, and there's you got your clicks and your whisper networks. But then you've also just got like there's a lot of guys in the indie space. It's like I've met a lot of them. Like I think Dave Brink with Perfect 10 is really great. I think Vaughn Coleman. Although I haven't met Dave face to face.
I met Vaughn. Me too.
Yeah. Vaughn's great.
He was a black guy, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Vaughn. Yeah, totally.
Vaughn, the black guy. Yeah.
So Vaughn does Phenomenova, which is a fun book, and it's got beautiful art, and Vaughn's a really good guy. And John from John's Longbox, I've met him. He's obviously working with Renzo as well. They do Heroic Tales together. And these are all people. Even Eric, I've met Eric multiple times. These are all people that are like really supportive of other indie projects. And I think that's why I went indie to begin with. I didn't get indie to be in a clique. I didn't go indie to kiss anybody's ring and have to. It's like that's why I got out of the mainstream. Is because I didn't want to be in cliques and I didn't want to have to be pressured to kiss anybody's ring because I wasn't going to do it. That's what gets me in trouble at companies. When I worked at Boom, it was like the owner would say, we're all in the trench together. We're fighting Nazis. Everybody else in the industry is a Nazi and we're fighting them. By the way, this is before everybody got called a Nazi. Like this is, like 2009, 2010.
That's some inglorious bastard shit. We're going to be doing one thing only, killing Nazis. Like, you are not Brad Pitt. You are Joe that does faxing in a building.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not true, because if you ever have the opportunity to make $1 by selling out any one of us, you will. It's like when you work for a company and they're like, we're a family. And that we're a family means I need you to work more for less. But the moment you go, I need an extra sick day, all of a sudden we're not family anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, oh, we're a family, but the people that are my personal family get all the hours while you get the scraps, and you have to work the days that they don't want to. It's like, all this. Yeah. But it's always weird though. Like you talk about the same thing. We just talked about that earlier. People like that you have to experience. They're like, man, what's the thing on the internet now? I actually like this term, main character syndrome. They actually think they're Bruce Wayne. They actually think they're Batman. It's like, no, dude, you are Joe who works at Starbucks and you have a septum ring piercing. You have blue hair. No, you're not Bruce Wayne at all. Like, who are you?
Well, it's, it's the attitude too of you are working for the greater glory of somebody else, and there's no glory for you. You should just be happy that I handed this to you. And it's one of the reasons that I was told that like we weren't invited back on Darkwing was because it had become uncomfortable for Disney publishing how synonymous Sylvania and my name had become with Darkwing, and they never want you to have that level of credit.
Oh yeah, you can't.
Yeah. There's people who, and there's publishers, there's people in just every walk of life where they can't accept the fact that, like, okay, let's say I have a company and I hire you to do, A and B and C, and let's say you execute phenomenally on A and B and C. Well, now I would say you deserve a raise because you bumped up our profits this much and you were important. And my credit comes in the fact that I was smart enough to hire you who now did all this great stuff. So you need to be rewarded. And my satisfaction comes in the fact that I was smart enough to see that you were the guy. That's not how most people think. Most people above you, all the way up to the top, if you do too well or you do well and you want recognition for doing well, that's a problem.
Because I do think a lot of people just don't actually understand this because they don't live life enough. I feel like a lot of these more younger people, a bit younger than me, they're in that thinking phase that every young person is in. They're very naive. They think like, well, everyone is good. Everyone has my best intentions for me. It's like, guys, no. Actually, no. That's actually the opposite. Everyone is actually secretly only looking out for themselves, and you, through the weeds of knowing a lot of people throughout your life, figure out in these weeds who are the golden nuggets I pick from and the ones that will actually truly be next to me throughout most of my life when I'm going through bad stuff. It's actually, I don't get where people, but nowadays it's flipped. They actually think that everyone essentially is, I don't know what's weird. You meet people that think people are too evil, and then you meet people that think people are too good. I don't know. There's no, the pendulum swings back.
Here's the truth. Here's the truth for everybody. And I don't know if this is comforting or if this is even more horrifying. But the fact of the matter is, most people don't care about you at all. Like they're not against you. And they're not for you.
I agree.
They're completely indifferent.
I agree. Yeah.
Everybody has got their own shit to deal with. So you're not the main character. You are in your life. I get it. You're the main character of your own life, but everybody else is the main character of their life. So,
sure. Yeah.
So you can't get upset at these things. You can't be like freaking out that like, oh, people didn't take care of me. Don't expect them to take care of you. You need to like like you said, find the golden nuggets, and they are rare, and that's why they're valuable.
Yeah. And I told people this throughout life, that's a hard pill to swallow that, hey, my way of phrasing is a little bit more harsher. Like, I will say this. Think about how many people you have in your life. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Guys, I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if you straight up croaked, like you just dropped dead, how many people do you think would actually care if you died? Then you got to think about, wait a minute. Because I started thinking about this whole thing too. If I just died, would anybody really care? These are things you got to understand, like the thing you just said earlier, which is like, everyone's got their own shit they got to go through. It's like, I've seen people literally just walk past a guy just wigging out on meth. They didn't care because they're like, well, it's not me. I don't got to go through that. That's how the average person
also
thinks.
Then there's the danger. There's the danger proposition. There's the inconvenience proposition. All those things have to go in. It's like, okay, if I try to intervene here, if I try to help, like what does it cost me? And unfortunately, society is now in a place where that is something that you have to consider. Like if you're a Daniel Penny and you're on the subway and you see a guy who's cracked out and he's like, endangering people on the train, and then you choke him out and then he dies. Well, you did the right thing, but you're going to get punished for it. So now what happens is now you see a woman, people will see a woman, they'll see children being menaced on the train by one of these nutcases, one of these guys that's wigged out on drugs, and they'll do nothing because they have to make that calculation now in their head. If I step in, like if I ignore it, maybe nothing happens. But if I step in, then how much am I going to have to deal with after the fact? You know,
Right.
so that's fear is a very powerful motivator. I mean, that's how they got so many people to take those vaccines that were untested.
Right. And I'll use another example of, let's say, the recent example with Scream 7 and Melissa Barrera. And keep in mind, I'm not saying, I don't know her personally. Obviously, she's famous. But I will say, I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm not saying she's a good person. I don't know her personally. But weirdly enough, what a lot of you guys do, you people that did protest Scream 7, keep in mind, I didn't think it was a good movie for aspects in the movie itself, not anything to do with her personally. Guys, all these people that are clamoring for her, she would not care if you straight up got a heart attack right now.
What did she do that was controversial, or what was the
boycott
about?
Essentially, she said like "Free Palestine" on her Instagram account, and then she had an interview where she basically said Israel or the media doesn't show you the other side. That's essentially the last thing that she said, and then after that, she had gotten fired. And keep in mind, it's not that that sentiment she just said right there, where I don't believe people show each other the other side. I agree with that personally, because that's just how media is. They only show you one side.
No, they show you the side that they want you to see for whatever it is that their corporate masters want them to
and then she was fired, and Jenna Ortega was fired along with her. And keep in mind, guys, I'm not saying that it was right or wrong to do that. I'm saying like all these people that bat for these people, whether they're famous or not, they don't care about that. Like, they only care because you're propping them up. Like, a lot of people claim they don't like brown nosers or ass kissers, but they like that for that aspect. They don't like you as a person. Like, guys, all these parasocial fans she has now, she doesn't care about you like that. You really think she would drop her marriage to her husband to date you, someone who's saying, boycott Scream? No, she wouldn't. It's nonsense to care about that stuff. It's like Zack Snyder. Does he really care about all of his fans like that? Does he really? You're not.
The thing is, we're not wired to care about that many people. It's like, and social media has kind of like exacerbated. We can have empathy for other people, and we can feel things for people we don't know. That's but like this idea that it's all very performative. The way that these people pretend to care about, they may be like, oh, I don't like that. I feel bad for that person. But it's like, I'll just flat out say it. Like, do I want all the people that died in Gaza? Am I happy that they're dead? No, I wish that people didn't kill other people.
Yeah, same here. I agree. Yeah,
but also, am I crippled in my daily life because of it? No, because it's so far away and it's so outside of my life, and I don't know any of them. It can only impact me so much,
right?
And I can't control it either way. So what Hamas does, what Israel does in retaliation, whatever it is that that it's going on over there, I have zero control over it. So in order to get through my day, I also can't get very worked up over it. And I'm sorry if that seems cold, but it's like I have to save as much of my energy as I can for the people that are actually in my sphere that I actually know.
Right. And
does that make sense?
Yeah, because I tell people the same thing. I know for sure. I talk to people and I try to get them to understand the average person, like you said before, the average person, even if they know what's going on, there's nothing that we can do personally to fix it. Keep in mind, there's nothing anyone can do to fix this thing. This is way too out of hands of anyone to actually fix. It's kind of like this is going to go on forever. And the thing is, I have my own shit going on to the point where, keep in mind, I could feel empathetic about it, even if I did. Keep in mind, would they do the same thing for me? Actually, because keep in mind, they don't care about Americans as much. I'd imagine a lot of them don't even like us. If you flip the mindset around, would they care if it was happening to us? Let's say we were battling Canada the same way. Would they care if we were all just dead? Probably not. That's how savage the average person thinks.
What would Canada kill us with?
To be fair, maple syrup cancer or something. Fucking weird.
we do love pancakes, man. If they poisoned all the maple syrup, we'd be in trouble.
But it's just. And keep in mind, I'm not saying that a lot of people are like that, guys, but I'm going to say it. I think a good majority are. I would say a good 90% of people you'll ever meet are just going to be like that. Keep in mind, there's going to be the little 10% that actually care about you, that you want your inner circle. I've moved to this kind of philosophy in my life. I want like a small circle of people that really are there and, have acquaintances here and there. Another thing people need to stop doing. This thing about being friends with everybody. I think you told me this a while ago on one that shows you. You can be friendly with a lot of people, but don't try to always, sometimes be too become friends with people, because you don't know who's gonna backstab you. I don't. You should always have to be careful. Circle.
You have to be careful who you trust.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
and And you know, I kind of benefit from the fact that oh man, you're getting
don't pay. He's a cloud chaser. Don't pay attention to WZ.
Yeah, they're gonna come in and roast. Well, if you're not getting roasted by your audience, do you really have a show?
They think they roast me, but they're all cloud chasers. That's it. You know, that's another thing. Is just people trust too much. Trust should be something you should earn over time, like respect. This weird thing where people think that I have to respect a random person online that I'm never gonna meet, never gonna interact with. Like, no, people, if you follow me, personally know me, been on the shows, obviously it's different. Like, obviously that's completely different, but. Like, you should respect that person with pronouns about it. No, I don't have to. I don't have to do jack shit personally. I don't have to why would I respect a random person I'm never gonna interact with, never gonna meet? And keep in mind, like you said before, wouldn't even care if I croaked on the street. Why would I respect is a thing I was taught you earned. You earned that through, I don't know, interactions, trust, conversation. You don't just give respect to people on the internet. What kind of naive world are you living in?
I had an editor in chief that like said that to me. Like he pulled me into the office and he was upset because the team, he's like, well, the team, like, you know, they respect you, but they don't show me any respect. And I said, well, that's because respect is earned. I said, you know why I have the respect of my team is because often I'm the first one here and I'm the last one to leave. I don't ever ask them to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. I said, so that's something that they find respectable. And I treat them the way that I want to be treated. I said, you don't do any of that. All that they see you do is come out of your office at least 2 times a day and have us sit in meetings to tell you what we're doing, what's going on, what the progress is. Then later you pull us back into another meeting to do it again, even though the meeting could have been an email. Because I don't need to come into a meeting and waste my time that I could be working on the things that I'm being paid to work on to come in and give you a progress report when the progress report is nothing has changed since this morning. You told me to message that artist. I messaged that artist. He has not responded yet. I would have sent you an email if he had responded telling you what his response was. And then we wouldn't need to do this. And then we'd be like, okay, well, let's have the same editorial meeting that we just had, but let's have it again because now marketing is going to sit in. And you're like, why didn't marketing sit into the first one? Like, why are we doing this again? You know, it's like,
yeah, I agree.
They don't respect that because all you do is walk around with your cup of coffee and then have us come into a meeting so you can like go over everything that we're doing.
Oh, yeah, this weird thing in America, like a lot of companies do that. My job too, just these meetings. Why are we having these meetings? Is there anything super serious? No, we're just gonna just go over the same bullshit we always did, like respect and all other nonsense. Like, oh my god, what is this thing where
we're in the trenches killing Nazis, man? We're all together.
Oh, because there's been some big things that have happened in Hollywood that I want to get your opinion on. First thing was Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy is finally now, at some point later this year, going to step down. Probably after the Mandalorian and Grogu. I imagine she just stepped down after that. You think it changes with Dave Filoni, like a lot of people think? It was crazy. I admire there's optimism. I admire you guys' crazy, weird optimism. I do admire that. No, would I ever do that bullshit? No, because I know how people are. But you know what? If you are truly optimistic like that, I personally hope it works for you. I really do. I truly don't want it to be bad for you. I really don't. But then again, given history, because
it's going to be bad. Factor. It's going to be bad.
What was that Ray movie? You know that Ray movie that was supposed to be directed by that crazy obese lady, Charmin Oboy Chinoe or whatever?
Oh, the one that likes making men uncomfortable. Yeah.
She just got axed in one weekend. Hey,
I think we said at the time we were like this movie's never coming out. Like we all knew at the time. Like,
they pulled the Wizard of Oz. Like, hey, nothing to see here. Nothing going on over here. She just was quietly just gotten rid of. Just no one remembers her name.
What does that make? Like 12 to 15 projects that Kathleen Kennedy announced that never went anywhere. No, I don't think it changes anything. I think this is like having your fillings replaced after you already have mercury poisoning. You know, it's like the damage has been done. Nobody cares about Star Wars anymore. I think Mandalorian and Grogu is going to flop. I don't think Starfighter is going to do that great. The measure, like I might change my opinion on Starfighter depending on how well Project Hail Mary does, because that if like Ryan Gosling's really hot coming off of that, right, maybe it'll translate into some more, you know, people going to see Starfighter. But I kind of doubt it. That's really the X factor, because otherwise I don't think there's anything to be good. You know, they've canceled James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie. Thank God. Like every time I hear a Star Wars project announced, I die a little inside. And then like every time one gets canceled, every time one gets canceled, I feel rejuvenated.
Dude, that's the problem with Hollywood now at this point. Like, you'll hear stuff get announced, and then like 6 months to a year passes, and then you think about all the stuff that they announce, you're like, wait a minute, nothing's been done on that. Oh, a good example of it, that Wonder Woman video game. I remember they gave it a cinematic and everything, and then after like a few months, I was like, wait a minute, nothing's been updated on this. Nothing's actually going. Either because you've been in the space more than me in that corporate level. Do they just announce stuff to appease shareholders? Is that what
Yes.
really?
Yeah, that's what they do.
It has to be.
They intend to make it when they announce it.
So my dad intended to be in my life, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but then the call of cigarettes was too much, and he went out.
It was Skittles and milk.
Speaking of coming back in the summer and like there not being much in the fridge. You ever come back on a hot day? And, it's like, this is why I was like, my friend and I were the only people that laughed at this joke in Anchorman. That it's when he drinks the milk in the hot sun. And he's like, oh, milk was a bad choice. And we were the only ones laughing. And I was like, nobody else was poor and came home. And the only thing to drink was milk. And it was hot. And you'd like took a big swig of it. And then we're like, oh, God, it's so thick. It's so viscous. It's gross. Disgusting.
Because he had to bring up milk because today Sophie Rain just chugged a gallon of milk. Oh, God. I can't get away from milk today. Oh, because I never got your actual opinion on this a few shows ago where you were on. What do you think about girls that do OnlyFans, essentially?
Oh, I think that I object to the fact that we call them OnlyFans models.
Right, right.
Like, why are we softening the word
prostitution? Yeah. It's the new generation. They have different labels for stuff because they're always like, definitions can always change. Like, that's not how definition even works. But
I mean, I don't respect it. Like, obviously, I respect everybody's free will, and you can go live your life the way that you want. I'm not going to try and stop you. But I don't respect it. I don't think it's respectable. And I think that ultimately it's damaged. It's damaged women, and they're acting out in a damaged way, and they make a lot of money. I'll tell you who I'm more critical of. We talk a lot about these OnlyFans whores or whatever. I'm way more critical about the men that support it, because if you simps weren't giving your money to these women, they wouldn't be doing it.
I agree too. Like, the thing is, for me, is like I bash them, but it's the dudes that are supporting it though. I'd imagine because we talk about demographics here before. People are factor in. I'll use Barbie's example. Barbie's target demographic is little girls and just girls in general, right? So the target demographic of OnlyFans is dudes, though. Like, that is their biggest target demographic, and a lot of these guys are just spending money on them, actually. And it's weird because you would think that these are nerds living at their mom's house. No, some of these guys have very, very good jobs, actually. Some of these guys
a lot of these guys are married.
Yeah, so that's what I heard. A lot of them are married. That's crazy. They're taking.
Remember when that website went down? What was it, like Ashley Madison or whatever was the name of the site?
Yeah.
And it went down. And it's like all these dudes on there got exposed, and they're like a bunch of married dudes. Men are sleazeballs, and unfortunately, we convinced women through feminism that it was empowering for them to be just as disgusting as men, and now here we are.
Because when people tell me, hey, I may never get married myself, but when all these married people on Twitter are like, oh my God, I'm such a faithful husband, all that stuff. You give money to an online prostitute. You're faithful. You look at OnlyFans girls porn. You're faithful. Like,
well, I mean, okay, so I used to I used to know somebody who knew the Impractical Jokers. And
really?
Some of those guys were all online all the time talking about like what family men they were and stuff like that. And this person told me on more than one occasion they're all cheating on their wives from in town to town.
It's all virtue signaling. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of them like had to leave the show, I guess, because of some allegations that got covered up that would have destroyed everybody. So, what do you do?
It's crazy because, like, what was that old saying growing up? Those who preach the loudest have the most to hide.
Well, yeah, it's like, look, all the reporters that came out against, Pizzagate is a lie. It's a lie, and then they all get busted for child porn.
All these trad wives.
It's Shakespearean, right? Methinks he doth protest too much.
It's all those trad wives on Twitter like, oh my God, I'm so trad. It's like, no one even says that in real life. No traditional actual woman says, I'm so trad. No, even if a girl literally does live that lifestyle and she's actually traditional, she had only one partner and all that stuff. I've never seen a girl like that live that lifestyle and say, I'm a trad wife. They don't say that. They just say,
no, you know why? Because if you're a trad wife, you're not online talking about it. You're too busy being a trad wife.
And even when they actually had even if they posted pictures about themselves, they're not naked in bikinis. They're wearing very covered up clothing. It's like, what is wrong? Like, it's weird thing where they must perform so hard online to convince you they're that thing. They don't live that lifestyle. What was that one girl that just got busted about that? The Elijah Schaefer, that other girl situation.
Oh, I have no idea.
She was proclaiming, she was on all of these trad podcasts, proclaiming how trad she was. Kind of like she was just cheating on her husband the whole time.
Well, I mean, that's traditional in a sense. there's a long tradition of people cheating on their spouse. I'm just being trad.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's no way these people will function in real life. Like, it has to be all virtue signaling, performative bullshit online, because there's no way people live like this in real life. There's no way.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, obviously I'm online, but I'm online with like my real personality. I don't, it's like, number one, I don't need to impress anybody. And it's like, people come at you and they're like, oh, well, this person's done more than you and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Good for them. I'm happy for them. Like, number one, I'm not competing with them. I don't know why you are.
That's always what weird people do online. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. You'll just do anything, streaming something. And then some random guy's like, I have more of that than you. And you're just in your head going, I don't even care. Yeah. Why are you telling me this? What the fuck?
Well, if you said you were like, hey, I just got the new G.I. Joe Night Viper, and then I responded in your comments, I have 7. That's not me bragging. That's me going like, I got 7 of them. I got a problem.
Oh, speaking of G.I. Joe, apparently Paramount wants to, for some reason, go back to doing another G.I. Joe movie. But this time, they want to do the comic book route of having, apparently, 2 of them, because that works so well, obviously, even though I'm not saying they don't sell well for Image Comics to a certain extent. But if you guys remember, the G.I. Joe franchise, outside of that 80s cartoon and the original comic books by, it was like Larry Hama who's done them, there's not really much of that franchise has done. Like, unless you count those... I don't want to count those as movies. Those were awful. The one with Channing Tatum and Marlon Wayans, that was terrible.
Oh my god,
Joseph
that movie. Okay,
first of all, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
First of all, that was my first date in a relationship that was a multi-year disaster. So like I already have an issue with that film. But any movie that like I mean, it had Marlon Wayans in it. There was no way it was going to be good.
Bro, it had, you remember those suits? G.I.
Joe's
known for fighting in like their army, their traditional suits. Why were they in those weird CGI jumpsuits? What the fuck was that?
Because a costume designer came on and said, I know better. So let me take all of these things that are iconic, and it would help sell the movie to the people, the audience that exists, and maybe pick up some new ones. They were like, I know better, and so Cobra Commander's gonna have a weird bubble mask, and Destro's gonna grow. He's gonna grow his metal mask onto his head. And
he's gonna talk like Bane from The Dark Knight Rises before that was a thing.
The only good costume in that movie is the one that the actress that played Scarlet was wearing when she was on the treadmill.
I did like Snake Eyes' costume. I did like Snake Eyes' costume.
It had the lips though. You can't.
You're right. You're right.
The second movie costumes were all better. Cobra Commander looked like Cobra Commander.
You know what's crazy?
Snake Eyes looked like Snake Eyes.
Don't forget, that movie was supposed to come out in 2012, and then they moved it to 2013 because they knew that if they put it on 2012, it wasn't going to do as well as the other big like superhero comic book movies. They killed off Duke within the first like 5 minutes, despite people remember. I remember this. They reshot the film so they could include Duke more because when the trailer first came out, they were like, "Wait, Duke dies? Do we get to have him more?" It's like they reshot a movie where the character died in 5 minutes. I don't even know what Paramount's just the worst sometimes. And then
he had to be bumped out of the way so that The Rock could be the main character.
Right.
Because you want to talk about somebody who has main character syndrome. It's Dwayne Johnson.
That movie loses me because this simple fact. G.I. Joe's known for being a group. You have Snake Eyes and what's The Rock's character? I forget his name sometimes in the comic books.
Roadblock.
Roadblock. You have Duke, Snake Eyes, all these people. The Joes are a group. You know them all. That movie does one of the most cardinal sins of any comic book movie ever. It's crazy. If this came out today, this would bomb. This would get $5 million. They decided to kill all the Joes off. Wait a minute. Whoa. This is the G.I. Joes. They're known for being a group, but the movie's premise is they're all dead. Wait, that's not G.I. Joe.
I'm fine if Marlon Wayans' Ripcord is dead. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
but like
sacrifices have to be made.
Duke. So like. First of all, that's not Ripcord. Ripcord is like a ginger Irish guy. So like they just but thank God they didn't make him Stalker because I would have lost my mind because Stalker's one of my favorite shows. And if you made Marlon Wayans Stalker, I would have been incensed even more than I was seeing that movie.
Did you like forgot the guy, the oh my goodness, he's the rival Snake Eyes had in the movie. I forget
Snake Eyes. Oh, the actor that played played Storm Shadow.
Storm Shadow. Oh my god. Yeah, Storm Shadow.
Yeah, I liked him in that. Even though he was Korean, I was like, all right, like it was a Korean actor playing a Japanese ninja, but
it's just so weird. If that movie came out today, I just only could imagine the meltdown. Guys, it's a movie where it straight off kills off the main aspect people like about G.I. Joe. Them as a big group. They're all just dead.
The second one has Walton Goggins in it for like 5 minutes, and you're like, you just
Bruce
wasted
Willis,
Walton Goggins on a,
apparently Bruce Willis was the original Joe that was supposed to take on Cobra. It's like, what is well,
that's kind of canonical, because in the comic book, they did use Joe Colton, which is who Bruce Willis was playing.
Right.
He's the original G.I. Joe, the one that was like that. I mean, not really, but the one that was like a 12-inch toy with the scar on his face, and but like with a full head of hair and everything. So they did work that into the regular Larry Hama comics, that he was the original G.I. Joe. And then, they tried to do that with the second movie. But yeah, they killed all the background characters. So now I have to think that the really hot actress that played Scarlet is dead. And you gave me Pilecki as Lady J. And let me say, I've met her in real life, and she is an absolute sweetheart. Like, she's
really okay.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Like, she's delightful to talk to. Her brother actually is a comic writer, Eric Pilecki.
I will say that in the second movie, I will forgive them on one thing. They did make a better Cobra suit. They did.
Yeah, Cobra Commander.
That was a little bit better. I did like the scene where that one guy was Destro, where he pulled off the mask, and he was the guy that originally killed Storm Shadow's mentor.
Oh, Zartan.
It was Zartan. Was that Zartan? Jesus Christ, they didn't do Destro.
Yeah, no, Destro wasn't in 2, except he was in the tank, and it's like, not this time, Destro.
You're right.
We couldn't get Christopher Eccleston back.
Yeah. The Zartan stuff was cool. I did like that, but it was those movies I feel like were. People say that Hollywood was ashamed of comic book movies. It's like they were Paramount's they might be ashamed of having G.I. Joe at this point, because third time's a charm. That Snake Eyes movie that came out in 2021 was if not one of the that is one of the worst movies in the last 5 years. That is true trash. Like
that guy, the guy that played Snake Eyes, Henry
Goldstein. Yeah.
Henry Golding should have been cast as Shang-Chi, and Simu Liu should have been bagging your groceries at the at the Silver Lake Trader Joe's.
Give him Walmart. He could be.
No, come on. I'm giving him a better job. Trader Joe's is a better place to work. I'm actually giving him a better job.
Maybe he could have got Naruto the ramen in One Piece in Naruto. You know what? They're all the same. No, just guys. It's one of those things where G.I. Joe was definitely a franchise they're ashamed. Guys, I don't even know. This was actually an investor. It was actually a meeting of producers. What's going to make people go and buy more G.I. Joe tickets for a sequel? You know what's crazy, gay? How about we kill them all off? And someone went, that's a great idea. This was an actual thing that passed multiple levels. And then it was approved.
But then they shot themselves in the foot, because by that point, Channing Tatum was actually hot. He was coming off of a hot streak.
He was, yeah.
And so having him in there, and also, Duke and Roadblock, they were introduced together in the comic books. So they're friends. The friendship that they tried to stitch together with him and Marlon Wayans in the first one, with it's him and Ripcord, that actually should have been him and Roadblock. Like, except
I remember
there's no way
Flint, Flint, Lady J. Yeah, it's crazy, because do you remember that trailer where it was like boom, and I was like, okay, the trailer made that movie look way better than what it's gonna be. It was crazy. I didn't believe they were all dead. I thought they were just hiding somewhere. No, guys, they're all just dead. They're all those characters you loved, you wanted to see. They're all just
yeah. Well, whichever one was your favorite from your childhood. They're like, hey, who's that walking through the background? Is that Clutch? Boom. Well, it doesn't matter now.
Also, what's so stupid about that movie? Why would they just all converge in that place? That's not even how they even worked in the previous movie.
The entire G.I. Joe team all in one place at once,
that I will give Green Lantern shit. That is a terrible movie when you're logically... Wait a minute. All the Joes, all that big army of people just converged in that one place and all just got murked. They're not... Wait a minute. No way. There's no way that happened. Fuck that.
It pissed people off right away. I mean, it did give us Ray Stevenson as Firefly, which, aside from continually taking his mask off, which is not a Firefly thing, good actor to put in that. And he was fun.
But I agree with you.
To have Firefly lose to Roadblock, come on.
But this thing I do agree with you on. I do, because people who were getting hot at the time. The Rock was getting hot because he was in, I think, Fast 5 before that, and then after that movie he was in Pain and Gain. He was getting a lot of the traction. I think at this point
he's been in a lot of movies that took place in the jungle, and would be in a lot of movies that took place in the jungle in the future.
Good Lord, he's not making us.
You make a movie in the jungle, like it's contractually you have to call The Rock, and he gets first right of refusal on any movie that involves wearing a T-shirt in the jungle.
I believe he truly maybe hijacked that movie, because you look at all the decisions made now, it's like, what in the world were they doing? To be fair, I like that scene where Snake Eyes was battling those bad guys off that mountain. That looked really, really cool. All they shot that practically, that looked awesome, honestly. But then you look
Firefly's motorcycle that turned into a bunch of missiles was cool. I was like, I'm down with this. I'm like, this is very G.I. Joe, like.
Remember that sequel they were supposed to make to that movie called Ever Vigilant? That's the funniest part about that title. When were these movies ever vigilant? About what? What were you vigilant about? All you guys got murdered. You're not vigilant about anything.
I wondered. Oh God, no. Now I'm wondering. Did anybody go back and do a cut of G.I. Joe Retaliation where they cut in all the classic cartoon music? I would love to see somebody do that. Like, just that.
Oh God. Well, because I know the last thing they announced before this new one was, weren't they supposed to do a crossover with Transformers? Oh yeah, 2 failing franchises crossing over.
Yeah, they did that at the end of the Beast, Kingdom of the Beasts, or Rise of the Beasts. Everybody's always rising. Stop using rise in titles.
Another trailer. I saw the trailer to that movie and I went, this is the same shit. Because people think like, oh, there's a new director. It's like, no, guys, Michael Bay's still producing these. He didn't die. He's not the name of them. But it's one of those things where I saw the trailer and I went, this is the same shit. This is the same thing. And watched it. It's the same thing like the other ones. All the same beats you don't like. And then like, you know what? Let's combine Transformers and G.I. Joe. Guys, Transformers last movie bombed. And also movie last bombed? Snake Eyes. So
you've got the Energon universe now in comics, which is actually a thoughtful way of putting these franchises together. So like you now have a template, but they went out to, like, the 2 people they went out to Max Landis and Danny McBride. Now, maybe Danny McBride is going to surprise me because maybe he's a big G.I. Joe fan and he's going to come back with this like slavishly, reverent, take on G.I. Joe from the 80s. Maybe, but I don't think so. And I knew Max Landis wasn't going to be able to pull it off. So, and apparently they've already rejected that script. So,
oh God. Oh,
it's
my
like
goodness.
when they're asking for, look, we just want somebody to kind of like try to make this a faithful adaptation of the property. And then you give it to Max Landis, and he comes back with like, it's going to be a spy thriller, and and it's like, that's not what we asked you for.
Oh God, because I remember they canceled the Ever Vigilant sequel for the Snake Eyes reboot, only to just now potentially reboot it with because you mind they're going to reboot G.I. Joe with potentially a crossover movie, and then you have 2 more separate movies. What are they do? And this is the thing that people need to understand. People were like, oh, Paramount's Paramount, the conservative company, right, is going to make better decisions than Netflix. Really? I don't know about that, guys. TMNT not made good decisions. Let's go off these. TMNT. Does Paramount make good decisions based off Star Trek?
No.
Star Trek, the great franchise they make great decisions about. Star Trek.
They hand it to Alex Kurtzman, the biggest hack. It's like, but that's it. Everybody, look, they just need to remember in the 50s when we had the Red Scare and they were trying to root out all the communists, and we were like, oh, that's terrible. What a terrible time in history. And now we look back and we go, maybe they didn't go far enough. What everybody needs to do,
too harshly.
Yes, what everybody needs to do in Hollywood is they need to go and they need to root out everybody who is involved with Bad Robot. Everybody who came from J.J. Abrams' production company or was connected to him needs to be rooted out of Hollywood. You'd get rid of Kurtzman. You'd get rid of Damon Lindelof. Everybody, all these guys that are just like destroying franchises for you.
I agree.
You'd be done with them.
J.J. Abrams, one of the biggest hacks of all time. I think the only movie he's ever did good his entire life, and who knows, maybe that was more Tom Cruise because you know how much Tom Cruise has influence on his movies. Mission Impossible 3 is the only movie, in my opinion, J.J. Abrams has ever done good. It was crazy. I have a soft spot for Lost because my mom used to really like it, but
he left. He left Lost,
and he Keep in mind.
And I know. I've been told, like I've been told by one of the writers on Lost that was in the early seasons that they actually did have answers for everything that they were presenting. And by the time Lindelof and Cuse came in, they were like, "Now do this. Now let's do this. Now let's do that." And it's like, okay, what's the payoff for that? Don't worry about it. And so, like, that's why like things went off the rails, is because originally there were answers to those mysteries. You know, it was going to be satisfying in that way. And they decided that's not the important part. That's not what people are tuned in for. Well, it's part of what people are tuned in for.
Yeah. Remember this? He got free money from Warner Brothers, just $200 million from Warner Brothers to do Justice League Dark content, and he produced what my dad gave me in my life. Nothing. Just nothing.
He did that Batman cartoon that was so bad they sold it to Netflix and everybody talked about for a week and then has never been mentioned since.
Worked on it. And keep in mind, it was so late, people remembered it was announced and like, where's this Batman Cape Crusader show? Now it's just better forgotten. Oswalda Cobblepot.
It's the that show is the Velma of the Batman franchise. It is to Batman what Velma is to Scooby-Doo.
Dude, what blew my mind about that show wasn't the show itself, because I knew that show was gonna not be good. I'll be honest here. They said J.J. Abrams, I was already out. They said he was producing, I was out. But then what really nailed it in the coffin was when Bruce Timm, he said Batman has, quote, actual word for word thing, Batman has no good villains.
Oh, was it no good villains, or was it no good female villains? Well, yeah, because you made his female villains lesbians, and then they weren't allowed to be villains anymore.
It was like,
even though they still are, and they're still very much,
Batman doesn't have any good female villains, huh?
Catwoman, Poison
Ivy,
Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn's more of a henchman than a mainline villain, but you could get her there.
You have Barbara, Cassandra Cain, all those girls. Oh my God, the Ra's al Ghul's daughter.
Oh yeah, Talia al Ghul. You've got Lady Shiva. You've got and these are just off the top. You've got Lady Clayface. Like you could bring in the Mud Pack.
The lady who's married to Man-Bat. I forgot her name. Langstrom. The Langstroms, his wife.
Oh yeah,
so
you could.
She's a little interesting. Yeah. Like, what is wrong with people? What is
the animated series? The animated series introduced Red Claw.
Right.
Got introduced in the comics not too long ago. Yeah, there's a lot of.
What was that girl that she enjoyed the thrill or everything? She enjoyed like the thrill of being in high pressure situations. That was the animated series too. For someone to just say that,
is it Roxy Rocket? Was that?
Yes, that's what she was. Oh God, she was getting turned on when Batman saved her. Oh, that was so weird. But
I know that was like, as a kid, I was like, oh, this is getting spicy. I don't know if I'm allowed to be watching this.
It said J.J. Abrams, and he said that, and I was like, you know what? I think this show might turn out to be something forgettable that no one cares about. You know what's crazy, guys? That show never got announced for a season 2. All these fans of Batman who said they liked it. No, I like if Penguin is a female. You really do, right? Where's that sequel announcement on this show, season 2? Oh, you know what? Crickets, obviously. All these people saying, you know what's crazy, dude? With comic books, fans will always do that. You'll be like, no, but like, there's a female Penguin in the comic books. Which run? Who wrote that? Was that a liked run?
It was one panel in an Elseworlds
in the comics,
story.
Like the whole the Fantastic Four thing.
Chalabal,
yeah. They're like, it was in the comics, bro. Who wrote it? Was because keep in mind, this thing people don't understand.
Well, now with lanterns, people are like, why is the costume in the closet? It's a construct, and they're like, no, here's one panel from the Silver Age that we're all going to use. You're wrong.
I can't stand people. You know what's crazy? I laugh so hard because it's so unironically funny. Because for some reason, because they don't read comics, they don't in their brains go, wait a minute. Just like with movies, there can be liked, disliked, unpopular, popular movies. So in comic books, guys, this is just a food for your thought. I'm not saying you have to read them at all. In comic books, things do not work like a monolith. Not every idea, story, writer, artist is praised as good. Okay, so just in the comic books, let's just say there was a female Silver Surfer that is that one panel. I agree. I saw that thing because come on, I didn't know who the fuck this was. I only know Norman Rad, the only known Silver Surfer, right? You know, fuck me, right? Mm-hmm. So whoever wrote it, whoever was the artist, was that a liked person? Was that a known thing? Was that a thing that people even liked at the time?
Was it a popular run? Did it last for, was it just for that one?
These things never apply to people when they have what's in the comics discussion. It's always, well, it's in the comic books, so that must means it was automatically loved and liked and good. You know what's crazy, guys? In Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, he's gonna probably get 2 more. If they ever did a movie called One More Day, let's just say they call it Sins Past. That's in the comics too. None of those stories are really like at all. Actually, still actively disliked by a lot of people. As we know, with Joe Quesada he committed suicide on Twitter, talking about One More Day. Oh, Joe, oh, good Joe, don't do that. He just went.
When you get Red Letter Media's Rich Evans to look into the camera and say "F you, Joe Quesada," you have messed up.
It's crazy. These people actually think they're funny. No, I'm unironically laughing at you. It's like these people don't actually think that. Guys, if they ever announce One More Day as a movie, and if I hear people say that shit was in the comic books, you deserve to get everything handed to you by this company. You deserve it, actually. You legitimately deserve it. You know, guys, there's a story in Superman comics where at one point pink kryptonite made him gay. I'm not kidding. It actually made him gay. Do you want that in a movie? That was in the comic books too. I wonder. Yeah, the answer is no, because no one would fucking want that, because not everything exists. That's the comic books works.
I don't remember that.
Bro, what is wrong with people? Apparently, just because she was in the comic books in one panel and a writer, who can't even name the writer? Who wrote it? Oh, no, it was in the comic books. So you know that shit wasn't bad.
There's a comic book where Clark Kent lost his powers and was raped in prison. It's an Elseworld story. He was raped in a Soviet prison. It was in a comic book, but do you want to see it?
You know what, David Cornsweet? Okay, let's cast David Cornsweet and Diddy, okay?
Well, no, but you got to bring Zack Snyder back, because remember, Batman could get raped in prison in his movie. That could happen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He said that in an interview. I'm not just making that up.
No, I know. He said that, and I was like, yeah, that's who Warner Brothers picked to direct their BVS movie. A guy who directed Watchmen. They were like, you know what? That should be our Superman director. That company.
In theory, I think that Zack Snyder could direct a really good Batman movie, but he would have to have nothing to do with the story. Like, you know, where Zack Snyder actually succeeds is where he has very little involvement in the story, and where he changes a story or where he has influence. Those are invariably some of the worst parts of anything that he does. So if you just go, I mean, the guy's he came from music videos, you know, come in, give us some visuals, have a moratorium. Like, Zach, you can only have 3 slow-mos in this entire film. And then he has to choose them wisely. Like, he has to really think about like where they go. But when you give him too much control, it's off the rails. It's like I say with you know, even as a comic creator and an editor myself, I get to decide what goes into Kneel Before Doomface. But I still hand it off to a couple of friends who I trust, who are editors, to read through it, look for any mistakes, tell me anything I might have missed, because, you know, you're very close to the story. So you still do need that kind of feedback, you know. And when you give, what we find is when you give, obviously studio interference ruins a lot of movies, but also giving a director complete carte blanche ruins a lot of movies. So let's talk about The Bride.
The Bride. You know what's crazy?
Because as Maggie Gyllenhaal said in the interview, there's kind of this fear of you know, what happens when you give women a lot of money, and she meant that as a positive thing about the $90 million they gave her to make this movie. And boy, that turned out to be prophetic and in a completely different way.
I will say, I'll just add to your point. I'll put an asterisk to it because I'm gonna add to it. Okay, so we'll use, because I know you guys don't watch movies like The Bride. Because keep in mind, actually, that's a joke. Nobody did actually, but we'll use the Marvels, right? When women said, "Well, hey, men, don't watch this movie. This is for us." It failed because, well, come to find out, not enough women like this stuff as much as men, right?
It was still men that went to see the movie. The larger percentage of the audience for The Bride was men.
That's crazy. We're supposed to absolve. We're the reason why something failed, but apparently if we're told it's not for us and not see it, that's our fault too. I don't even know how that even works in people's brains. I'm the reason why it failed, but even though you told me not to go see it and I would actually listen to you. Keep in mind, I always hear that men don't listen to women. You should listen to us. No, when women's talking, you listen. Don't go watch the Marvels. That's our movie. Heard loud and clear. Will not watch.
Elizabeth Banks told me that her Charlie's Angels reboot wasn't for me, so I didn't go to see it. And then there's an article, you know, why didn't men go see Charlie's Angels? You told me not to. You said it wasn't for me.
Oh, but apparently we don't listen to them when women talk. It's like, oh my God.
If you tell me that something is for me, like I made this for you, I'm going to go, oh, cool. I'm going to go to see it. But, you know, you're not allowed to make things for men right now.
I just don't get it when it comes to people like that. And it's because you guys remember when the Marvels was coming out, you were melting down on Twitter that this movie failed. And it's like, keep in mind, guys, Captain Marvel is not, what's crazy is Captain Marvel might have the worst word of mouth on an MCU movie still to this day. Why in the world would you guys think that movie would do financially well? The only reason why it got a sequel is because it made $1 billion. Keep in mind, nobody talks about Captain Marvel good. You're the more cons than me. Dude, has anyone in your entire life spoken positively about Captain Marvel ever? I can't
nobody
name
who
one.
I think is being honest. I think anybody who does is being disingenuous, because they're always the person that you're like, oh no, you're just saying this because you can't actually tell me what you like about it. It's you just like the fact, you like the
Yeah.
idea of it, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the problem, is that comics, film, everything, it's kind of been infiltrated by people who, they like the idea of it. They like the idea of it as a vehicle to carry their message, but they don't actually really like the thing. So they don't actually go and support it. It's like Maggie Gyllenhaal is talking about how this movie is her. This movie, she doesn't like the, yeah, there's only a couple of female directors, but she didn't really, their films don't resonate with her because she doesn't see herself in them. It's like, okay, when I go to a movie, that's not my concern. I've never gone to a movie and go, boy, I really hope that I see me in this movie.
I don't get that either. It's so weird. It's like those people that are just constantly race obsessed too. Like when I watched, I don't know, Dragon Ball Z as a kid, I was like, you know what? Goku as an Asian man is beating up people. I never once thought to myself, man, what's crazy would make it even better if he was black. That never crossed my mind. Actually, that never crossed anybody's mind because it has a lot of fans. Like TMNT. I know you like TMNT a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What can you relate to literally teenage mutant ninja turtles beating up ninjas by ninjas who work for a guy called the Shredder? What do you relate to that? How do you relate to that?
Everything that I relate to it comes from the actions of the characters and who they are as people, not the fact that they're turtles or that their skin color is green. Like what I take away from it is, it's like, yeah, I understand Raphael being the hothead. It's like, I've been the hothead in my life. Yeah. I get that. I can relate to that. Leonardo wanting to do his very best to honor his master. Like, that's like a very father-son relationship. I can identify with that. The things that I can identify and I can relate to are abstracts. They're not one-to-one comparisons. Like, I think it might have been you that I talked about this. I said, I never got into Miles Morales during Bendis's run in the comics.
I remember you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. But when I saw the first Spider-Verse movie, I was into it because they made me understand Miles as a character. I don't know what it's like to be a black teenager in Brooklyn. I have no idea. But that wasn't required for me to relate to Miles, because,
or like the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, because what needs to be communicated is not skin color, is not necessarily even culture or where you were raised. You need to be able to identify with an inherent humanity and an inherent struggle. And everybody can understand struggle. It's why the X-Men used to work and why they don't work anymore, because now they can only be an allegory for the weirdest fringes of the LGBT community, whereas they used to be an allegory for outsiders. They used to be something that everybody could attach to.
I'm glad you brought up X-Men. I talk to a lot of people that like X-Men as much as I do. So as far as like things they've created that have really stuck, we'll just use villains. Outside of Apocalypse and Onslaught, in your mind, can you name a villain that's really taken off? Just a villain.
Since like the creation of Apocalypse?
Like Onslaught and Apocalypse. Those were like the last two big ones they did.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody who's been...
You start drawing blanks here. Like, it truly does feel like the best creative things ever to exist in said thing have already been created. Like, or even X-Men. Like, what X-Men has really taken off since, like, most of the big ones that everyone already kind of knows, like, at this point now. Also, keep in mind,
I guess maybe a lot of people know who Omega Red is, but like, I don't think he's a big villain. I don't think he's a big.
Yeah, he's kind of like a known villain, but I wouldn't call him like a big villain or like like an X-Men character. Like outside of like all the ones we kind of know about, I know weirdly Marvel now is presenting, oh well, Magic is underrated. When was Magic underrated? She's been in like a lot of people's books forever.
Magic is correctly rated. She's a mid-tier character, and she's a good mid-tier character. I love Magic. But
Psylocke?
No, I mean Psylocke's not a main character. There's only a couple of X characters that can carry their own book. One of them is Wolverine. One of them is Cable. Maybe Gambit if he had the right writer.
I could see it. I could see it
because you can do a lot with him, just based on his origin. But like, is a Storm book ever going to really take off? Probably not. Like maybe if Claremont was writing it. Because obviously, he made Storm the lead in X-Men, and we all loved her. But
do you remember
too much shit has been attached to Storm since, from her marriage to T'Challa to changing her personality to there's just like nobody gets what made these characters resonate in the first place. Like I love Rogue; she's one of my favorite X-Men. Do I think that she could carry a book on her own? Probably not. Even Nightcrawler, who's my favorite X-Men, he could maybe carry a 12-issue series.
I really love the idea of a character like Rogue. I really do. It's a really cool idea where basically, because women thrive off being touched and they love connection, and she can't do that because she'll kill them. It's weirdly like pairing up the idea of a succubus with someone that's actually not evil. That's a great concept. It's so weird how you have these great concepts for these characters like the X-Men, and they, for some reason, they can't sell anymore because, well, like you said before, creatives after, who knows, maybe after Grant Morrison, let's just give him, maybe after Grant Morrison, just can't really do anything. They just can't, for some reason, move the needle. Because I know a lot of people don't like Grant Morrison's run, but for some reason, people do, they moved it for people that did like it. After
people
him,
did buy it.
People did buy it, yeah. After him, it kind of feels like no one really moved anything. Like Brian Michael Bendis, well, that run, even if people did like it, it's kind of only known for turning Bobby gay. That's it.
Well, it's just like, Joe Quesada had this long career, but all anybody thinks about anymore is he's the guy who ruined Spider-Man. It's like, you have to be careful with these characters, these iconic, pieces of history that geniuses have worked on and that great men have like elevated. And, you stand with great power comes great responsibility. You're handed a character like Spider-Man. You need to be careful, because these things can be broken. You can bend the characters and you can put them in situations that bend them and test them to their breaking limits. But the moment you break them, they're broken forever.
Right. And the reason why I'm bringing up Grant Morrison is because he's written stuff. I'm saying a lot of people really like it because he can write something in a way that moves the needle. And keep in mind, I'm not even saying he's a bad guy. I don't know the guy or anything, but it's one of these things where you think about all these runs on these big characters.
I mean, he's a vegan, so we can hold that against him, but
yeah. It's like, good Lord, how would you not eat meat? Wait, that's in clip out of context. Me saying I don't like eating meat.
I'm a wizard.
If I say I love eating meat, someone's gonna think I'm gay. Like I love putting big meat in my mouth. But no, guys,
that's getting clipped. By the way, that's getting clipped, right?
Okay, I like my steaks medium. I like my steaks well done. Sorry, they taste the best. That's just me. But it's one of the things I try to ask a lot of people that like comic books, like myself. Has the best creative days been long past? It's like let's say Batman, right? Sure. Outside of Court of Owls and to now Absolute Batman, what else has really moved the needle on Batman, maybe? That has really stuck in people's minds?
Nothing. I mean, there have been some good runs, like, Batman and Robin has been good. But like, it hasn't really...
Dark Knight's Death Metal. I know a lot of people like that one.
No, that was terrible.
You don't like that one?
I feel like Dark Knight's Death Metal. I don't know what to tell you. But then again, people are reading Big Dumb Batman and they love it. So, like, Absolute Batman.
Maybe it's almost goth kids that pretend to be goth in school. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's like the same reason that I think that like Image took off in the 90s. It's like there was just a yearning for like things to be extreme, and like, and that's fine. That's fine. It'll last for a little while, and then
like Superman. Outside of like, I love Superman. I truly do. I have a lot of his books. I read some of the stuff. Like, it feels like, for a lot of the characters, it feels like a lot of this best stuff is just kind of past us. And it's just, not like retreading and rehashing, but it's like, will you get something that usurps X thing? Or like, we'll use One More Day, for example. Joe Quesada, what really screwed him the last 2 weeks that he did that bullshit. He said, in spite of what I've done, it's crazy. It's like that Spider-Man quote from the Tobey Maguire movie. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. He did that thing. In spite of my story, Spider-Man is still a billion-dollar character with movies.
But he didn't say in spite of my story. He tried to excuse what he did to Spider-Man by saying, like, obviously it's very successful. So obviously what I did was successful by the transitive factor. I did well. And it's like, no, because
that's not how that works at all.
That's not at all how that works, because you ruin Spider-Man in comics. Spider-Man can still exist in media with people who have no idea about that story. They just see it for what it is, face value. Here's this movie. But for the comic book fans, you ruined Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's never recovered from what you did. And it's like, you have to own that.
Yeah, it's weird where, like, when I read that quote, for me, the way I interpreted it was like, he was just basically saying, in spite of One More Day pissing off so many fans, that Spider-Man still sold well, when it's like, you can't be this retarded. These companies, both Marvel and DC, at some point knew that selling these books didn't matter, and that they could just make an animated or a live-action TV show or movie, and that would gain you more fans for that character than making a comic book. Let's be honest here. outside of One More Day, and yeah, that maybe caused a lot of people to start reading the book, and I'm pretty sure it did. I'm not disagreeing with that. But the character of Spider-Man, through movies and whether it be live action or animation, cemented fans of these characters. So, like, yeah, in spite of One More Day, Spider-Man still sells. It's like, yes, no shit, Sherlock. The popular character is popular in spite of your bullshit, because it doesn't matter, because these studios know that. These studios know they can sell you a good show, animated or live action, and it will get more fans than a book. But that works in spite of what you did. That doesn't change what you did. You know, if I wrote a Batman book and I was like, you know what, Batman must be getting deep-throated by Bane. You know what? People are not going to like that story. But that's like me going, well, Batman still has a lot of movies coming out. No shit, Sherlock.
Reddit will love that story.
It's like, I can't believe he said that. Yes, Spider-Man, the biggest superhero character on the planet, sells in spite of what you've done.
I wish you hadn't said that.
Good Lord.
Because everything to me is a writer's room, right? So you throw out that idea, and now in my head, I'm like, here's Batman getting railed by Bane. I'm like, and now Bane presses the Venom button while he's balls deep inside of Batman. So he swells up. Oh,
Aaron,
God.
Robert Pattinson's getting a new Batman movie. You know what? Despite me making a story like that, he's still getting a movie though. It's still all good in the hood, right? As you say back in the day, all is good. It's like, dude, what's wrong with you? If you guys, I'm being honest here. In your brain, if you truly feel like some of these characters, like let's say Batman and Spider-Man, the biggest ones, can't survive bad. Yeah, okay. Like, yes, Batman and Spider-Man can survive bad comic book runs. But you know what's crazy, guys? The studios don't give a fuck about that. All they care about is if they can make money off of like a lunch pail, a shirt, a movie, a show. They know comic books don't move the needle. You said it before, like a lot of your shows with Aaron, with not Aaron, with Wes and all those guys on, yeah, and Comics Aficionados. That stuff moves the needle. An animated show or a live action TV, well, a live action movie, that moves the needle. This comic book stuff doesn't move the needle like that anymore. They know that. You know why we know that? They don't report the sales numbers anymore. They know it doesn't. The sales numbers aren't public anymore.
Also, they don't pay enough to attract talent, and there's no incentive to doing your best when you do work for them. Like, why would you create for them the next Deadpool or the next Cable? You know, which is really like the last characters that have been popular. I mean, they've tried to lampshade Miss Marvel into being popular. They've tried to lampshade Captain Marvel into being popular, and they never have been. You know, so like Rob Liefeld was really like the last person at the company who created characters that have, you know, maintained. And even like, you know, there's a lot of derivative characters off of them, obviously. And now I don't like Deadpool. Like, they've made me hate Deadpool, but and obviously the creators that came after Rob that actually worked on the character are the ones that made it popular. But you know,
he hates when you tell him Joe Kelly popularized the character. He hates when people tell him that. But
well, I know he can't handle it. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. Joe Kelly basically popularized that kind of humor that people associate Deadpool with, because his version of Deadpool was way different, actually.
Yeah, you go read his appearance in New Mutants '98, and then his appearance in X-Force 2, and there's barely anything of a personality there. Like, yeah, he talks a lot, but it's not like it's particularly funny or particularly clever, you know, because Rob is not particularly funny or particularly clever. It's just kind of, you know, his approximation of a Spider-Man type banter. And then, you know, Fabian did the circle chase, and that really established a lot of like Deadpool's motor mouth kind of, you know, qualities. And then it was Joe Kelly that actually pulled everything together in his series with Ed McGuinness on the art, which is beautiful. And he actually gave him a reason to have the name Deadpool. You know, Rob just saw a Clint Eastwood movie that was called The Deadpool, and he was like, that'd be a cool name for a character. You know, that's like the only thought that went into it. Whereas, you know, Joe Kelly was actually like, all right, why is he called that?
Ed McGuinness, what a legend. That kind of art style, man. I wish people still had that. But last before we head out, because I know it's late for you. It's like almost 8 for you. Good Lord. But this person...
I'm an old man. I can't be up this late. What are you trying to do to me?
Oh, there was a legendary comic book figure that did pass away a few months ago. Sal Buscema? It was a very... great, fantastic. It's an understatement. Just gorgeous art. I've seen this guy's books. Did you ever interact with this guy personally? Ever at all?
No, I never had the pleasure of meeting him. But I was a big fan of, you know, when he was on Spectacular Spider-Man. It was really like the boom period of Spider-Man, because you had McFarlane on Amazing, you had Alex Saviak on Web, And then you had Spectacular with Sal. And so Sal was kind of the odd man out. People didn't, he wasn't as flashy as Todd, and he wasn't as polished as, his art wasn't as polished as Alex. So, the comic book fans at the time, like they would buy Spectacular, but, they didn't really they weren't as excited for it. But some of the best stuff, some of the best Spider-Man stuff is in his run. And he did some really good, strong character. They were using characters like Vermin, and they were using the Harry Osborn Green Goblin a lot. They were introducing like the Lobo brothers and doing like this big crime war thing. I really loved all that stuff. So I'm sorry to hear. Unfortunately, we're getting to the point where those books were, God, 30 years ago now, and so we're going to lose a lot of the legends that we grew up with. So it's important if you get a chance to meet them now and to tell them how much you appreciated their work, even if you just send them a message online and say, what their work meant to you. Now's the time to do it, because you don't know how much longer.
What do you feel about Peter David? I know he sadly passed away, actually a few months ago. It was almost at least only 4 months ago, early into Thanksgiving last year. He passed away. What a horrible time to pass away close to Thanksgiving. Jesus Christ.
Well, the worst part is that it didn't have to happen. Peter needed medical help. And the company who he had created so many things for and had given so many things that they could sell, in perpetuity, couldn't even be bothered to bring him on an exclusive contract so that he had, had some proper medical benefits. So I think
literally co-created Spider-Man 2099, guys, like Miguel Ojeda.
Who was in a movie, and who was has gotten more attention in the last couple of years than he ever has, you would think that would be worth something, that, you'd maybe want to take care of that guy, just it doesn't, but this is corporate. This is what happens when your business is run by a big corporation. I've told the story more than once, but at one point, Disney Publishing was like, hey, we hear Don Rosa's having some medical problems, and maybe Disney could step in and pay for some of those, pay for his surgery, or, just something to, as a thank you for all the money that we've made off of his works over the years, even though our relationship's been contentious, really give something back. And then was told by legal, no, it sets a bad precedent. Because basically, if you show charity or you show kindness to one of the people whose backs you've stood on, then everybody whose back you're standing on will expect you to help them when they run into some problem. And we're not about that.
And what a lot of people don't get is so people have told me basically, well, if they paid you for your work, isn't that not good enough? This is the thing, though. If you show that you care about them as far as giving them good royalties for how much money you've made off their work, this is the crazy thing, guys. These creators that did so good for you in that aspect are going to be willing to want to do more good stuff for you because they know they're financially taken care of. I mean, we know this famous story of Mark Miller. Mark Miller straight up said, I made more money with my own shit than writing anything for Marvel. Now, keep in mind, you have to get your name in the door at some point. That's fine, obviously. But he also said he made more money. He didn't make any money from the Civil War adaptation that the MCU ended up doing. Pretty sure he made nothing from that, Well,
it wasn't really based on Civil War, but yeah. Jim Starlin said that, he got more, Ed Brubaker said he got more for his little cameo appearance in Winter Soldier than he did for creating the Winter Soldier.
It's actually insane.
Jim Starlin, I think Jim Starlin said he got a $3,000 or a $5,000 check for all of the use of Thanos in the films. Those movies made billions.
2.300 billion. It's utterly disgusting. It's what people don't actually get. If you take care of those creatives, they'll want to do good stuff for you. I don't know why they treat people as if I get it. I understand their company point of view, even though I don't agree with it. They treat everyone as disposable because they feel well, we're Marvel and we can have the access to anybody because we're Marvel. We get access to anyone we want because you want to work for us. And I guess from a business point of view, that makes sense, but it's you also end up tanking your own work. I mean, this is the same company that straight up relaunched Amazing Spider-Man, even though it was never out of the top 10 for sales charts, only to relaunch it for it to be selling less than Ultimate Wolverine? What did you really get out of this? Keep in mind, guys, their best-selling book was the book they did as a collaboration effort with their rival competitor. What are you doing?
I mean, the fact of the matter is they don't pay enough anymore to draw top talent. And even if they did pay enough to draw top talent, there's no incentive for top talent to give them their best ideas. I could walk. I've been such a fan of the Marvel Universe and DC Universe for so long. I could walk in tomorrow and I could write a bunch of good stories for them and create a bunch of new characters that would hopefully become marketable and then be able to be used and put on lunchboxes and put on T-shirts and made action figures of. But am I going to do that? No, because there's no incentive for me to do that. There's no incentive for me to give them that. Now, granted, there's more incentive at DC than there is at Marvel because Marvel is owned by Disney, and Disney is like the most tight-fisted company in the world. They don't want to give you credit, much less any money. DC is better about it, but still, why would I go in there and create those stories? I can hold those back for myself, and that's what a lot of creators did. That's what Mark Miller did. And what happened? Mark Miller ended up selling, to Netflix, and now he lives in a castle. He lives in an actual castle.
But the other Mark.
Now, granted, I know that he's from he's from that part of the world where we think everybody lives in the castle, but it's not true.
That's crazy. That other Mark was like saying he fell off. This is so funny. The other Mark was like, "No, you fell off. You are a star fading, some bullshit like that." What? A star fading when you had to come back to DC to become even anywhere relevant again. Oh, okay. All right.
I was thinking about this on Aficionados on the weekend. I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking about it when we were talking about books that were coming out, and I was like, is Mark Waid even working on anything right now? I'm pretty sure he is. But I have no one is
Unlimited. That's it.
No one is talking about either of those. So it's like, you can say like, oh, Mark Miller is just doing this because he's a fading star. Well, then guess what?
He's saying that.
The light he gives off as a fading star is brighter than any light that you've given off in your entire career. And it's just jealousy. I mean, I worked with Mark. I know for a fact he hates Mark Miller. His character in his web comic, because remember, he was going to revolutionize web comics. Insufferable, the character in Insufferable is actually based on Mark Miller. That's how much Mark Waid hates him. So
apparently I heard Mark Waid loves his trips to Thailand. That's what I heard allegedly in Minecraft said by.
Well, that's what I mean. So I was told that when I worked at Boom, but I was told that by the two most unreliable people in the world. So and people who had a habit of trying to tear other people down. And that's one of the things that I really realized is I was like, man, Mark is the best talent that we have at the company right now. And you guys are talking mad shit about him. Why would I ever trust you or think that you're not going to do the same thing to me the moment that you decide that it's in your wheelhouse to do it? And sure enough, they absolutely did. I had no illusions about it.
Of course.
But yeah, I was like, here's Mark. And at the time, Mark's a volatile personality. He always has been. At the time, I was a volatile personality, so I understand. But I was in my 30s and was pissed off about a lot of things. So I get it. But Mark was the top talent at the company. I did see him do magnanimous things. I did see him do things that I was like, oh man, that's pretty stand-up that he did that for people. So at the end of the day, I feel like everybody should be judged on the very best aspects of who they are. And he didn't deserve that.
We know Wade
didn't deserve those rumors being spread about him. Those are very destructive kind of
yeah. I can't mind. I might not agree with this guy politically on anything because he's absolutely batshit insane. But it's weird where I wouldn't, just because someone thinks a different way about something politically, I wouldn't just automatically assume that everything about them is wrong. Like, I've seen him on podcasts. I do believe he genuinely loves comic books. I do genuinely believe that. He loves
comic books and he hates people.
Actually, that's a nerd. Nerds do that a lot. Nerds like their nerd thing and they don't like comic books. Or sorry, people in comics, obviously. That's what I wanted to ask you. I never asked you this before on the other shows. The last thing, and then I'll get to the final two things. I never asked you this, so I'll just top of your head.
That's a great way to do it. The last thing, and then the final two things.
Yeah. What do you think about Comicsgate? I never asked you what your feelings were about Comicsgate. Let's just say EVS is Comicsgate as people knows it now. Not the original that was formed with a bunch of bullshit, but just the way that Comicsgate is. I don't pay a lot of
attention to it because at the end of the day, it's a click, and I'm not really interested in it. I know there's a lot of drama that surrounds them, and I know there's a lot of drama that gets engaged in.
Have they ever asked you to work on one of their books actually at any point?
I have worked on a Comicsgate book. I guess if Art to Bear is considered Comicsgate, then I think of Art as like one of the Greybeards with Lopresti and like it's weird because in my head I think when someone says Comicsgate, I think of three people. I think that it's Ethan and then underneath him John and Shane. That's what when I think of Comic Skate, that's what I think Comic Skate is. And then I think of like the Graybeards as being guys like Aaron Lopresti, Art Taber, Graham Nolan, Billy Tucci, and a lot of those guys I really like. Like I really like Aaron Lopresti. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. Working with Art was great. Art's a super nice guy. I've never met Graham. Billy Tucci is like one of my favorite people at, like you go up to Billy Tucci at a convention, man, that guy is so happy. Like you can't help but be in a good mood. You could be in the worst mood ever and you go up to Billy and Billy's going to get you in a good mood. He's just a super positive guy. So, it's kind of like I kind of base it on who I actually know and what the individual people are as opposed to like the whole thing.
Yeah, because like I tell people this, just kind of knowing what it is and what goes on with these people, like when they say that they hated stuff in the mainstream and then do the exact same thing, it's like these are people that are honestly just better just laughed at, because you can't. I mean, it's hard to just ignore these things, so I just laugh at them when I hear, oh well, this person is doing it. Yeah, sounds about right. Someone who has, because keep in mind, this is all they have left. They have nothing else. Keep in mind what we talked about earlier. People don't want to get jobs. They don't want to work a 9 to 5. Imagine Ethan working in a Walmart. Never gonna happen, right? This is all they have. When people, what was the thing? I think you said a while ago on some of the other appearances. Desperate people do desperate things. This is all they have left, guys. They have nothing else. So when you
mean as far as drama farming, or
no, as far as like no other opportunities will arise outside of this. So like there's no other job opportunity in the mainstream. Maybe other gigs aren't gonna pop up. Like I feel like when people get into that mindset that nothing else is gonna end up happening, they just do crazy things. Like drama farming could be one of those things where, hey, well, you know what? I got nothing else to do. I'm bored and my life's kind of over. This is what I sold my life to be on. Might as well just start talking shit about people. It's like, good Lord. That's the last ditch effort,
I think that,
up stuff.
I mean, you can make money with that for a little while. It's it just depends. I guess it just depends on what your goals are. My thing is like, I don't want to be in fights with people. Like I don't really have any interest in that. I say what I say, and if somebody wants to say something back to me, they're welcome to it, and we'll have a back and forth on it. But it's like, I don't know. I'm too old for that shit. I'm too old to be like, and I don't pay attention. Like, so just, take like Eric July. His success in no way diminishes me. Like there's nothing about it that has anything to do with me. So, because I'm not working there. I'm not contributing to it. I'm not, but he's also not damaging the stuff that I'm doing, so I don't really I don't really get the jealousy or the outrage or, it's like just everybody doing their own business. Like, Paul Thayer, who does Project Neosis, that guy sells books like a wild man.
Does a very good job. Yeah. That was my biggest thing that you just said that these people do. They think that somehow Eric July being successful means that they can't be successful in their own way. And it's like, what in the world? What mindset is that? It's just, this is how they might have been carried by other people at that job. Because
this is how they're coming from a mainstream mindset, because the mainstream mindset is crabs in a bucket. Is that it's a finite pie, and then if anybody's getting out, then they're gonna succeed, and I'm gonna be stuck here in the bucket. So I have to try to pull them down out of spite. That's a poor mentality. It's not a finite pie. Now, granted, if somebody is like, man, I love the Rippaverse and I buy every Rippaverse book, and I don't have money for your book because I buy all the Rippaverse stuff, that still is not my problem. My problem is I've got to produce a book that's good enough to get some of their money. So put out your book, make it the best possible thing that you can, and it'll find its audience. And hopefully along the way, you'll find some friends that'll help promote it. It's like I retweet people's campaigns all the time. It's like, some of them I buy, some of them I don't. Cause it's like, I gotta be conservative with my dollar too. I get it. If I had unlimited money, would I support a bunch more people? Absolutely. I would. But I just went in on
money. Yeah. It's like $30 each book to back. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so for example, I went to back a book and it turned out it was based in the UK. And so to get the book and have it shipped to me, it was going to cost almost $100. And I was like, it's like, because of the international shipping, I was like, it's not worth it to me. So hopefully I run into them at a con and they got the book on the table and I can just pick it up. Right. Mm-hmm. But I backed Rini's Fiendish 3. You know, it's like, do I look at Rini and go like, "Oh, people are buying her book and they're not buying mine"? No, there's either crossover or there isn't. She's doing a different type of book than mine.
Yeah,
It appeals to that crowd. It appeals to me as a reader. But like, I don't think that affects my crowd. What I would like to do is I would like to eventually have Rini come over and do a Doomface cover, and then maybe her fans will come over and pick it up because they love her, and then bam, then maybe they'll love the book. You know, it's my job to make my book sell to people.
Yeah,
Nobody
and this
else.
is the thing that a lot of people just tend to forget when it comes to this stuff. It's really hard to get people interested in this creative endeavor at all. It's really hard. And then the other thing it's really hard to do is convince people you're going to actually come up with your book based off of like the past bad aura that surrounds crowdfunding.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if it's not you. It's just overall people are like, well, I hear that crowdfunding.
The stigma. Yeah, there's a bad stigma around it.
I hear like people don't get their books, and then it's like you got to fight something that you had nothing to do with.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I wanted to bring up there is, you know, there's people, because when someone says, well, your book's not good enough to be selling like that. I mean, at the end of the day, all that matters is money. It's selling. I mean, it's really hard to get people to back this stuff. I'm happy for any creator that does.
People who are mad at Eric, you know, people who are mad at Eric will be like, oh, the books are crap. And it's like, well, obviously the people that are buying it don't think so. Yeah. And it's like, oh, they're just buying it for political reasons. Okay, but it's still maybe, but that's still a viable business
also, as a person, how about they know that specifically though? How do you 100% even know that? Oh, I heard someone do that. That's good. I heard a lot of people do a lot of things. I heard that I'm a white guy who jumps off buildings at night. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you hear all kinds of things, and you know, it's like, can you imagine what you'll hear tomorrow? It's
imagine you believing everything you hear on the internet. What are those naive things?
If I believed everything I heard on the internet, Eric would have been out of business in 2022. Like, you know, it's like,
oh God.
Nobody's speaking from nobody that makes these claims or these predictions or speaking from an area of any kind of knowledge. It's like, I understand you. That's what you hope will happen. It's just like over on Threads, I see a lot of people that are like, oh, America's losing to Iran. And it's like, I understand that's what you hope will happen, but that doesn't necessarily reflect reality. I'll tell you what, what's to say? Fill up hope with one hand, or you put hope in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up faster.
I will also say this to any creator too. You know what? There's a hard pill to swallow. Maybe your idea or book is just either not that good, or, you know, I will say it's not even just not that good. There's so many things that come out at the wrong time or not a good time where it fails. Like, come on, the Thing is revered as one of the best movies ever made. Came out and bombed, and then people loved it retroactively years and years later. No. Come on. I don't get why the other thing can't apply. Maybe this is the wrong time to do this, and you could do it later at a better time when there's more opportunity there. No, but it failed because it was bad. How do you even know it was bad? Maybe there's something you're doing wrong that's not getting people to like your stuff. There's a million different factors as the reason why things like this fail. It's not just one secular reasoning, because that just doesn't make any sense based off how many factors go into this stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's you know, like take Brett Bean, who's got like one of the hottest indie books right now, Dwark. You know, second issue just came out. First one sold out. You know, really low print run because, you know, retailers didn't really feel confident about it, but people wanted it. And so now there's a big speculation on it. Obviously, it's shooting through the roof on the secondary market, and you know, there's reprints and people are interested in it. Brett's been toiling away for a long time, you know, in the comic book industry, and this is his first big major hit. You know, you have to.
Yeah,
I am too, and Brett's a great guy. You have to fail a lot before you get that success. You know, that's inevitable. You know, you have to put in your time, you have to toil away, you have to perfect your craft, and you have to build an audience, and then, you know, hopefully something hits for you. And now it has for him. And I'm like super happy about it. I'm not mad at him because of it. I'm not like, oh, Brett Bean, you know, like it was, you know, like, why would I be mad at somebody else's
8-hour Sparrow cast crashing him? 8 hours.
I love to see people succeed, you know. But there's that Morrissey song that describes these kind of people. We hate it when our friends become successful, you know, and if we can destroy them, you bet your life we will. That does speak to the mindset of certain people. You know, they will, you know, if they're your friend and you start to overshadow them, they'll be upset. I don't care about any of that.
Yeah, because as you said earlier, you have your own shit you got to deal with. You know, you're too worried. We're worrying about if your own book is going to be successful or it's going to get enough backers. If I had time to worry about, as crazy as these people seem to worry about everyone else but themselves when it actually matters most. It's like, if I had time to worry about every single person, you know what happens, guys? I'd be looking like radio on the streets, and no one wants to do that, you know? So the last thing to last, man, is do you have anything planned coming up that you would like to let the audience know about?
Yeah, so if any of you guys are in Florida and you're going to MegaCon, I will be there at the Comic Mint booth. I will be signing copies of the final Kneel Before Doomface preview before the full book gets out to backers. It's got a really nice Jim Lee X-Men 274 homage cover, and really looking forward to selling that. You can actually find it on the Comic Mint website right now. So if you shoot over there and just punch in Doomface, there's a pre-sale you can take advantage of. And I hope everybody checks it out, because really proud of this book, really proud of like where we're going to be going with it. And a lot of fun stuff planned for the future. Basically all day today, all that I did was sit and create new characters for it, because we have
well, you actually worked on your book. You weren't sitting on a stream trashing people.
That's I'm sitting on a stream trashing people now. You got to make time for the things that are important. But
right.
No, but it's like I mean, I love doing this stuff. It's like I have a good job. I'm involved in writer's room on a project. I love doing that. I love helping people with their indie books. I edit books for people. I consult on various indie titles. I do like the editor-in-chief job over at TCM Press, which is gearing back up. So that's going to get busier. I love doing this stuff. I love comic books, and I love reaching out, and I love hearing back from people. And this is fun. This is what I've always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, there's enough people that come and that support me that allow me to do it. So I don't take you guys for granted.
Yeah, I want to also let people know, hey, back Kneel Before Doomface. Also, back issue 2 whenever that goes live on. I imagine you're gonna do it on Kick. Oh, I forgot you're not doing that. You're changing your model. You're gonna be basically a pre-order.
It'll be live. It'll be live somewhere.
We're doing it live. Fuck it, we're doing it live. Mm-hmm. Last thing, do you have any shout outs? Do you want to get to anyone in particular, and anything else you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, I mean, so come check us out on Thinking Critical. We do, I do a regular Wednesday podcast with Wes over there. We do a number of videos on the channel, and then on Saturday we do Comics Aficionados. Most Tuesdays you can find me over on World Class Bullshitters with Jeff Hicks and Andy Andrew and Script Doctor, and we'll be talking about the latest pop culture news and having a good time. And just please please don't get offended by anything I say on Twitter. It's all just fire and forget for me. And I'm just mostly trying to entertain, and of course destroy any chance that Gavin Newsom has of running for president. So those are my two goals on Twitter: to entertain and to destroy Gavin Newsom's career. So
I want AOC and shit. Fuck. Yeah, I want AOC and that weird. Fuck, I can't say that word. I'll say Ranny. That one Looney Tune in like Minnesota who thinks he's a girl. That white dude. I want them to run. That way. No shit. Sarah McBride, I think that's the name. Good Lord. Sarah McBride and AOC running partners. Then I need to just watch the world burn.
I mean, I'd kind of like to, I don't know. I think I'm very amused every time Tim Walz comes out and is like, hello.
What a weird guy, man. Thank God he's not in the spotlight anymore. But yeah, man, it's great having you on for a third appearance. We always have these long conversations. I talked to you in so long, and we were trying to do this show, but you were busy, obviously, with work and other stuff. So, it couldn't make it happen. So you were kind of like my dad, only a little bit.
You're like, yeah, well, it's like, but I'm like the dad that comes back and you're like, what happened? You went out for smokes and you never came back. And I'm like, I hit my head. I got a concussion. I had like a lost.
I don't remember you. Yeah, guys. It was great talking to Aaron Sparrow once again. Go to Wes's channel, Thinking Critical. You can watch him do videos in the Comics Aficionados. Also, if you're in MegaCon, go and buy Kneel Before Doomface. No, it's not Kneel Before Zod. It's Kneel Before Doomface now. It's a new era we're ushering in, out with the old, in with the new, actually. So thank you guys for checking out this